Boom, ladies and gents, welcome back. It is it's been another week, a whole other week. It's crazy how quick this one went by. So much going on in Canada. I thought this was supposed to be the slow time. I know it's slow for YouTube, but there's still lots of stories going on, and I haven't been stopping. It's just been go, and my schedule is filling up way faster than I ever had expected. And well, it's good. This is good news because I've got so many guests lining up for next week. If you guys have been slacking on the viewership of YouTube, I say slacking, but I know it's summer. It's summer, and everybody wants to spend time with their families, and that's the way it works. But hey, it's getting busy, so there's lots of stuff. So pay attention to the channel. Make sure that notification bell is rung, so you get the notifications for it as the videos pop up. But I get it. A lot of people are out there and they're enjoying their summers. Enjoy your summer for sure. Let's get the chat up in here. Come on in. Welcome everybody. Hey, for everybody that's just new to this whole thing, this is the live stream. This is the live show. It happens every Friday at this time of night, which for you might be 9:30. It might be 6:30. It might be 10:30, depending on where you are in Canada or in the world. This is the time that we do it. It's 6:30 Pacific time. For me, 9:30 Central. But this is when we do the live stream. This is when I take a moment to catch up with the community. This is a great time for me to read a lot of what you guys have to say, do it in a live format. I try my best to keep up with the comments during the week, but holy cow, it's overwhelming. It's unbelievable how much you guys are supportive and show that support in that way. So, hey, I want to thank all of you, and this is what I like to do to thank you, is to come in for these live streams and chat with you in this sort of format. And it's a fun way to get to elaborate a little bit more on some of the stories. I know this morning was a little bit long-winded. What do you guys think of that? Just to be honest, I honestly thought less people would view it because the video was almost 20 minutes long. However, it did well. So it's really hard to judge. It's really hard to judge what people like to view. It really is. Coots 4, thank you, Clyde. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that today. But so the reason why I haven't been talking about it much is there's a publication ban on the case, which makes it very difficult to find out any information. So today I have Jason Lavigne coming in halfway through the show here to come give us some more information on what's happening with the Coots 4, those boys that were arrested and held in indefinite detention, it seems, without trial. And yeah, really want to get to the bottom of this. Pretty contentious situation going on with that one. Clyde, you should do something on the CPTPP, please. Wow, that's a long acronym that I don't know the meaning of. Would you type that in there, Monica? That'd be fantastic. Nanaimo, BC. Hey, welcome, Nanaimo. Hey, this is when we do a roll call. We ask everybody, where are you viewing from? It'd be really cool to know that. Suzanne Eckstein, I hope I pronounced that right, with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. It's a serious injustice for the Coots 4. I agree with that. I just haven't been able to report on it because I don't have anything solid. And you know, like, it's been this way for a while. I've made mistakes on the channel. I've had to make retractions, and I have no problem with that, but I try my best not to make those mistakes. And these are those cases where it's really easy to make mistakes because there's so much rumor in the rumor mill about what's going on there. There's so much that people are saying. There's accounts that people have said particular things that turned out not to be true. And I always try to err on the side of caution, but yet still engage with these stories because I really do think that it's important to get that kind of stuff out there. And loved what was going on in the Belleville treatment. Trudeau is well deserved. Yeah, actually, I got a screen grab of that. This is from good buddy Vesper D. he put this one out there. Oh, it's just Vesper now. No more D. Okay, Vesper skills. Yeah, this has got to be the greatest screen grab in Canadian history. They really nailed that placement of the flag right there and the Canadian flag right next to it. With, of course, the what do you call them? Special service Canadian bodyguards for the tyrant in chief. that's him, of course. But yeah, this is anyway. This is the live stream format. This is what we do here. If you're new to the channel, I do news stories several times a morning. Actually, I usually try to do at least 2 in the mornings. Get 2 stories out before I head off to work because I work a day job. I pull wrenches, for those that don't know. I'm a mechanic by trade. This is how I got my start on YouTube. I was doing DIY and how-to videos and all that stuff. I kind of got sick of what I was doing, and just so happened to be, the Freedom Convoy popped off. I just happened to have all this equipment around for doing all the stuff that I was doing previous to this, and decided, whatever, I'm just going to talk about what matters to me. I gave up on all my hush-hushness about Canadian news and politics on my channel and just went full bore into it. And here we are. Here we are a year and a half later, and we're still going strong, stronger than ever, actually. Holy cow! What are we at? 111,000 subscribers to the channel now. It's growing. It's growing all the time, and it's amazing. It amazes me every day that so many people want to tune in to the stuff that this dyslexic mechanic wants to read about the news. But hey, if you guys are enjoying it, I'll keep doing it. This is the way it goes. Hey, Clyde here from Sydenham. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Ontario. Not too far from Belleville. FJT. Yeah, absolutely, FJT. For sure. 310 of you in the chat tonight, but we'd like to see a little bit more than 140 likes. Hit that like button. It does a lot of favors for the channel. You see how much it's been growing? The reason why it's been growing is because you guys have been so supportive of the channel in doing all the things that helps with the algorithmic recommendations, getting the channel out there to more people that would like to view this kind of content. So the best way to do that is things like hit the like button. If you hit the like button, it tells the algorithm, hey, the people that we've recommended this to, that was bang on. They're hanging out. They're viewing this channel a whole lot. We should recommend this out to more people like that. And that's what really helps around here. Of course, all the people that are joining in the membership, that stuff is getting put to good use. I'm trying to expand here in the studio that I have here. Hopefully bring in some interviews live in studio so we can ramp up production and make things even greater than they are at the moment. But hey, these things take time, they take investment, and they take all kinds of things. And thanks to all the people that became members of the channel, that all that stuff is going to a good cause. And of course, all the super chats and donations and all that stuff. And just hanging out here, this is great having everybody out here. Again, likes and joining in with these live streams definitely helps out so much, and really appreciate that. Prince George, British Columbia here, just north, not too far, well, a little bit far north from me. How's the weather up there in Prince George? 100% chance of black flies, I'm sure. I love your coffee cup and well-placed sipping, Clyde. Oh, I don't have my coffee cup in here. Actually, I got that coffee cup ages ago. It's the Cockfordolly coffee cup from AVE's channel. I got it. I don't know if it's even available. I don't think it's even available anymore, but I've had that one for so long, and it's been really good. For on the backside, it has a special note on there that everyone likes to read at the appropriate times. G-Meister, member for 13 months. It's been 13 months, my man. That's amazing. You did something. Yeah, you did. Yeah, hit the damn like button. It's the only thing left that doesn't have a carbon tax, right? Everything's got a carbon tax. Actually, has anybody ever heard of a thing called Tax Freedom Day? I mean, maybe I should pull this up. Tax Freedom Day has been moving further and further out every single year because it's the day that you are free from taxes at the end of you paying your taxes. AVE is pure Canadian proper. He absolutely is. I've had him on the channel a few times. He hasn't been like live on the channel. I haven't had live discussions with him, but he sent me videos to say, hey, publish this. And yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I love his takes. He's a solid guy, and no BSing. That's the whole thing. about him that I really respect, and I've been following him for ages, way before this channel ever took off. But that's the thing. Marty in the chat. Amazing. Tax freedom is usually around mid-July. I remember when it was in June. That's how old I am. Oh God. Is it what it is what it is with the super chat with 69.99. Hi Victoria BC, thank you so much for the support, really appreciate that. That's amazing. I'm gonna take that right to the tax man and then keep a little bit of it, but then I'll invest that into the channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Absolutely. But yeah, tax freedom day, when is that? Holy cow, so many people turning out tonight. I'm seeing lots of familiar faces in here. You missed it. You missed it, Vesper. I was showing your tweet from earlier. That was fantastic. I'm losing myself in the chat. Fallback brand name for you is Dyslexic Mechanic. Yeah, absolutely. The Dyslexic Mechanic. If Clyde Do Something ever gets censored, I'll be coming back as that. So keep that in mind. That's where I'm going. But yeah, Tax Freedom Day. Let's look that up. I believe it was the Fraser Institute that came up with this one. Oh, really? Are we obscured here? Tax Freedom Day, not to be confused with Tax Day from Wikipedia. This is what Wikipedia is saying here. I was developed and trademarked by an American businessman, Dallas Hustetler, which aims to calculate the first day of the year on which a nation has, as a whole, has theoretically earned enough income to pay its taxes. Every dollar that's officially considered income by the government is counted, and every payment to the government that is officially considered a tax is counted. Taxes at all levels of government, local, state, and federal, are included. And wow, I don't know if we're even in July anymore, Marty, as you put that in there, with this Tax Freedom Day anymore, because of this new carbon tax. New carbon tax is incredible because it encompasses so many different things. If you actually weighed out what it would cost, it would be a really difficult calculation, I believe, in all fairness and in all honesty, because the carbon taxes, they're on everything. They're on everything from every level of production to until consumption, transportation and consumption of anything. And it's not like GST, where GST is deducted, actually. So a business person that pays GST on products, they actually, you have to, as a business person, you have to keep track of all of that, how much you're spending, and then you claim your GST. This is the thing. And then you get a rebate back for that. But no, the carbon tax is just added every time sale is made, and it snowballs. It's amazing. So if you were to include all of the things that you pay taxes for, so you have your income tax, depends on how much you make, because we got progressive tax. I really, really wish it was just a flat tax. Like I remember when I lived in Japan, that was fantastic. It made life very simple. But yeah, no, you have your income tax, then you have your contributions, they call it, CPP. You have your unemployment insurance, or they call it employment insurance now. It sounds nicer when you talk about employment rather than unemployment. But yeah, all these things that add up, by the end of it, after you've paid your sales tax and all of that other stuff, at some point you get to a day, and I'd love to find out when the new day is in Canada, because it gets stretched out every year to a different time. And I believe, I'm guessing we're not even there yet. I'm pretty sure it's definitely into August, mid to late August, maybe even this year, thanks to Trudeau and all of the stuff that they've been adding on to our tax burden. You should show the Omar Blunt instrument video I posted. Everyone needs to get a good look. Actually, I will. I had your page up a moment ago, and I closed it. Why did I do that? So let's pull you back up, Vesper, because that was actually a good one. I was showing the other one that you posted with the perfect placement of the Trudeau flag, but let's get into this one actually, because I want to show this. This is Omar Algebra. A young Omar Algebra. He's a young little Kermit the Frog here. Talking about, I just love this, when Liberal Party members mistakenly diagnose their own leader, Justin Trudeau, as the tyrant. So talking about not leading by example. Here we go. This is really good.
Canadians are familiar with their tendencies, with the tendencies of this Conservative Party, whether it's in their approach to dealing with crime, refugees, minorities, or Aboriginal people. They start with the premise that you are guilty until you prove your innocence. They assume the worst in people and fearmonger so they can justify imposing blunt and harsh instruments or legislation.
Yeah, blunt, harsh instruments and legislation.
Don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
They assume the worst in people and fearmonger so they can justify imposing blunt and harsh instruments or legislation.
Which is part of why we're going to make sure that people who choose not to get vaccinated don't get on a plane or a train, don't get to work in the public service, don't get by working with the provinces on vaccine certifications and mandates, don't get to go to movie theaters or gyms.
They assume the worst in people and fearmonger so they can justify imposing blunt and harsh instruments or legislation.
Yeah, they definitely did that. They definitely did that. So I retweeted. Please retweet everywhere. Yeah, I put this one out there for sure. Yeah, Kermit the pig versus Kermit the Frog. Young Omar. It sounds like he's about as good at reading as I am. Holy cow. And I have dyslexia as an excuse for myself on this one. That's for sure. Great tweet. Yes. So everybody go over and follow Vesper, because he's always putting out stuff on Twitter like that. On social media, I'm always just putting stuff out just to get a good laugh, maybe. This was one that it cracked me up. I saw this image and I was like, oh, what is this? Perfect timing for a shot. And I just put it out saying, caption this. I was gonna read out the replies in this live stream, but holy cow, look at all the replies. It's 296 replies just to this afternoon. Holy cow, you guys got right on it. And not only that, I put it out on Twitter as well. Got a ton of replies. The thing about Twitter that's nice is you can add images and people could put their captions on that in their own way. But there's some funny ones. A lot of Mr. Speaker stuff. A lot of people saying Mr. Speaker. There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere. I'm the lizard queen. I'm not reading that out loud. So, some of the replies to this is just amazing. I'd love to read them all out, but holy cow, there's just too many now. So I encourage everybody, if you don't already know about there's the communities tab on the YouTube page. So I'll put out little memes and stuff, usually once a day, but it's amazing when you get this kind of reply. But yeah, so many of them starting with Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. And I'm getting more memes from Vesper. You should share this one in stream. All right, I'll share that one. Oh, it's too large. Oh, okay, I gotta zoom back. Give me one sec. What are those? Yeah, this is Chrystia Freeland once when she showed up with Converse on to an event with her dress on. Yeah. This is the royalty in our country. Literally, they pretend. Well, they act like royalty. Do they not? I believe they do. I'm not your buddy guy with the $2 super chat. I'm late. I need to rewind to hear the RCMP stuff. No, you don't. We haven't got there yet. we're just getting into it. We're just getting into it here, and then we're gonna get into the Coots 4 stuff a little bit later when we get Jason Lavigne in the show to talk about this. Don't call them royalty. Well, I do it in a facetious way. I'm joking. Obviously, they're not royalty. They're trash. I mean, how else do you put it? But I really do love, and I'm going to try to segue away from this. I really do love when you get someone in like behind the scenes, like working class people that take an opportunity to just shine. Let's just say shine. Somebody behind the scenes, somebody who's not right in front of the camera, maybe, who just goes, I have a perfect moment, I have a perfect opportunity, and I'm gonna take this. And this cameraman did at, I believe it was the Toronto airport. Yeah, the Toronto airport, when they were doing a Toronto Airport Authority press conference, and I just got to share this because this is just too funny. This one cracked me up. Just get right into it. Courtesy of Memeology 101, by the way. Get over there and make sure you're subscribed to that channel because they're hilarious. But here it is.
And just a final question here. Is there any sort of work being done with the airlines in order to get flights actually on time or not delayed as much? Just curious if there's any work happening there.
Yes. So we've seen almost a doubling in terms of improvement on-time performance since last year.
Have we?
That is a reflection of all the work that we've done across the ecosystem together with our partner airlines, with agencies, reducing processing time, reducing wait times, and fine-tuning operations with our air carrier partners.
Oh,
and we see the great results that have come from that.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Ah, yeah, those. That's a perfect moment. I just love it. I love it when somebody I have this opportunity and he just turns the camera, and that's all it took. That's all it took for him to just own that moment, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. Get that cameraman a beer. Absolutely. Get him a beer. He definitely deserves that one. But yeah, I just wanted to show that before we get into some of the other stuff that might tick some people off. Or maybe before we get into ticking people off, I don't know how much, I don't want to waste too much time before I get into that story. But I did want to cover something that's, I don't know. I thought
Thank you, Duncan, and thank you.
I thought, sorry, I'm kind of just jumping the gun here. I thought this was hilarious, and I really wanted to showcase it because it makes me laugh. So I'm not been known to be a union guy, and I understand that some people are union people, and I'm not gonna split hairs about this tonight over that, but there is a particular union that's on strike right now in Canada, and that's the Longshoremen Union, and they've got their thing, and you know, we can all have opinions on what's going on there. They're definitely slowing things down, halting the border, while you know, the last time that happened, you know, emergencies acts were declared, but hey, they were invoked, sorry. But hey, we're not going to go there today. But down in Hollywood, those poor actors and writers, they're having a hard time. They're just having a hard time, and they don't want to go back to work because they say they're being treated unfairly. And you know what? To express themselves to the utmost, they brought in the biggest talent in all of Hollywood, none other than the nanny, Fran Dresser, to give a speech on why they've got it so bad. And this cracks me up because it's funny because the writers are so terrible. Movies are so bad anymore that don't need you. In fact, most of these film outfits, they end up coming up to Canada to avoid this union, by the way. Let's just be clear about that. The union is there geographically. They don't have they're not here in Canada. There is unions up here in Canada, which is making us less competitive, of course. But anyway, let's get into this.
Thank you, Duncan, and thank you everybody for coming to this press conference today.
No, thank you. I missed that voice. I so missed that voice. Ever since, what was it, the 90s? Oh, God. Yeah, Fran Drescher, American actress. Yeah, that's right.
It's really important that this negotiation be covered because the eyes of the world, and particularly the eyes of labor, are upon us. What happens here is important because what's happening to us is happening across all fields of labor.
Okay. Now they care about all fields of labor. They didn't care much about the coal miners, a number of years ago. Wasn't it the learn to code meme that kept going around? All the actors and stuff were sharing that one. The media was sharing it. The journalists were sharing that. Learn to code. And then it kind of turned around, and now they're saying to these people, learn to coal mine. It looks like you're not going to have a job pretty soon. It's looking that way. People are done with Hollywood. Absolutely. It's coming to that.
Means of when employers make Wall Street and greed their priority, and they forget.
Because actors and Hollywood types have never been known to be greedy. No, never.
About the essential contributors that make the machine run. We have a problem. And we are experiencing that right at this moment. This is a very seminal hour for us. I went in earnest, thinking that we would be able to avert a strike.
ChatGPT writes better scripts anyway. She gets into that.
Not lost on me or our negotiating committee or our board members who have voted unanimously to proceed with a strike.
So what? I'm sorry, just what?
It's a very serious thing that impacts thousands, if not millions of people all across this country and around the world.
Sure, and there's a lot of people that are, they're hurting. There's a lot of people that are hurting, and you don't see a lot of Hollywood types coming out and helping, going to food banks and donating their time. You're not seeing a lot of that. When do we see that kind of stuff? Because there's a lot of communities that have been hurting. Most small towns anymore don't even have theaters. Let's just go there. Mine doesn't, that's for sure. If I want to go see a movie, I gotta go way out. I just don't do it.
Not only members of this union, but people who work in other industries that service the people that work in this industry. And so it came with great sadness that we came to this crossroads, but we had no choice. We are the victims here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We are the victims here. But what will you do with my highly produced eyeball garbage? Exactly. We are the victims. Oh, I couldn't believe it the first time I heard it. It kills me. Oh, it kills me. We are the victims. Oh, no. Oh, no.
We are being victimized by a very greedy entity. I am shocked by the way the people that we have been in business with are treating us. I cannot believe it, quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
How far apart we are on so many things. How they plead poverty, that they're losing money left and right when giving hundreds of millions of dollars to their CEOs.
They're disgusting. They're going to do that regardless. They're going to give money to their CEOs regardless. But here's the thing. They have been losing money hand over fist, and it largely due to a lot of this leftism that's being pushed in and wokeism that's being pushed on people in movies and stuff and TV and all this stuff. People are done with it. They're just, no way. I'm not spending money. And who's doing that? the writers of SAG, they're the ones putting it in there. They're writing these crappy stories, and yeah, they're losing money because of you. Like this is where we're at. Oh, I just love the freeze frame. She's so angered. But what are they asking for? Here's the stuff that they're asking for. They've got all these different demands that they're making for what it is they want as compensation. They're not just asking for more money. This is the thing that got me the most. The crazy part about it is they're not just asking for more money. They're asking for a cut on streaming services down the road. Now, these people are gig economy. Like, you have to understand, just like anybody else who has a gig economy, you work, you do the job, and that's it. It doesn't mean you get shares in the company for doing the job that you just showed up for. But this is what they're asking for. They're asking to get money down the road, residual payments for these digital works that go up. Now you have their union here, IATSE Canada. This is the Canadian version of the union if you come up to Canada. But this is these are the stories, the Washington Post writing about it. And they were very close to coming to a deal, and nope. They didn't come to a deal, so now they're going back on strike. And what is it about? It's about these payments, these residual payments that they're asking for, they're demanding, which is rent-seeking, in my opinion, at the end of the day. No, you do a job, you get paid. If there's less money going around, and this is just the reality of it, less money going around. Why? Because people are watching this. People are coming onto YouTube and watching. They're getting their entertainment in other ways. This isn't, Hollywood's not the only way to entertain people anymore. And, even the big blockbusters, they just don't make the money that they used to. It's just, that's the way it is. But Fran Dresser, oh man, is she so hurt over this? And I think I'm not going to play the rest of the clip because we're just going to go too long about this. But she ended up talking about AI and how they shouldn't be replaced. But here's the deal. If you're an industry, any kind of industry, and you say, AI is coming in and it's going to make it cheaper and easier for these outfits to do the things that you do. But then you come in and you say, well, I don't like that fact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike. I'm going to shut down the entire industry. And in the process, I'm going to make me more expensive and less reliable. You're bringing on the AI. You're bringing it on faster. Sorry, SAG. hate to break it to you, SAG. This is the way it works. This is the way it's broken down. But hey, is this Go Leaves Go says, hey Chat GPT, write me a good rendition of Indiana Jones 5. It would write it better. I heard the new one's plot is pretty bad. A lot more. You know what people are tired of? Because this is what gets shoved down everyone's throats. You didn't like the movie because you don't like strong women characters. And they're shoving these like women characters. It's like, no, I don't like the movie because you wrote a Mary Sue. Now, even my daughter got into it. So we watched the Mario movie not too long ago. And compared to some of the other woke garbage, it was not too bad. But my daughter was even kind of, on the second and third viewing of it, because she was real excited the first time. But the second and third viewing, she was like, I'm like, what's the deal? And she's like, well, I like Peach better. Peach is the princess. I like her better in the games. I'm like, well, why? I don't know. I was like, is it because she's got too much power? She's stronger than everybody else? She's like, yeah. It's kind of weird, she said. It's kind of weird that she's stronger than Mario. I mean, like, if anything, they're all equal in the game. And then she even made a comment to say that she didn't like the Luigi character in the movie because he was a wimp, because he was weak. And it's like, oh, but this is how it is. So watching the movie, if you haven't seen it, they write Princess Peach as this like OP Mary Sue, who's just good because she's great at everything. And well, great. Mario is you know, your typical not really doing all that great dude. Al Stewart with the $100 super chat. Holy cow! Thank you so much. Put it in a plug for Simon Hergott. A valley destroyed the story of Monte Lake and Paxton Valley. Whoa! Putting in a plug for Simon Hergott. Why do I know that name, Simon Hergott? I feel like I know that name. Kamloops paraglider accident. No. November 16th. Oh, sorry. That's a report from him. Sorry, you got me. Thank you so much, Al Stewart, by the way. Thank you very much for that. But Simon Hergott, for some reason, rings a bell to me as if I have heard that name before, and that's got me curious here. I almost feel like I've talked to a Simon Hergott because I have. Putting in a plug for Simon Hergott. A valley destroyed the story of Monte Lake and Paxton Valley. Is that on? Okay, I need to find this. So, I need to get back to Simon. I have his email address. And Simon, if you're watching, email me one more time at the usual address, and let's get in touch. If you want to, because I wanted to talk to you about your previous career, and if you wanted to come on the show and talk about that, because that was on one of my list of things to do here. But A Valley Destroyed, Part 1, the story of Monte Lake and Paxton Valley. Here he is. So this is from his channel. Why am I'm on the wrong page? My bad. This is from a year ago, fighting fires. So I'm gonna put this link in the chat for everybody to go check this out later. I'll even put it in the description to the live stream. I'm gonna edit that in there right now. So everybody can check this out later. Big shout outs.
But no politician or bureaucrat's gonna tell me to go. And I don't appreciate being called a fool or stupid or whatever because I stay and save my house and my livestock.
Well, we have a society full of soft, weak men who...
Well, soft men make soft people, and that's what's happened to us.
Wow, that nothing's been
Soft,
spoken
no
truer
risk,
than
no
that.
Risk, no risk. You know what? That's what keeps you going, a little bit of risk. Keeps you alive, eh? It makes you think once in a while. And be able to walk and chew gum at the same time instead of having somebody else looking after you.
Wow. I'm gonna go back and watch this whole thing 2 hours earlier.
So I'm standing here at 4199 Paxton Valley Road, and behind me there are several houses that have burned to the ground. Behind the camera there are several more, all along the Paxton Valley Road. The sides of the road, the power lines are burnt to a crisp, and houses have burned to the ground. There are some houses that have remained intact, and those are homeowners and ranchers that have decided to stay behind.
Well, I'm gonna give this to everybody. So this is I put it into the description down below. So definitely go check that out now. Why am I getting 3 of those? That's really weird in the chat there. Hold on a second. Is that? No, there's no way there was 3. You kidding? Are you kidding? Where did where did that go? Oh, you got me all tripped up here. What is happening here? Let me have a look at the chat. Putting in a plug for Simon Hergott, A Valley Destroyed, with a $100 super chat, and then it's somehow it glitched, and it's showing it twice. That's really, really weird. Anyway, if that went in twice, thank you so much. But It looks like it's in there once. No, yeah, I'm looking at the other page there. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much. And I want to get in touch with Simon again. That would be good. I've just been so busy with getting in touch with all kinds of people. Again, this week coming up, there's a lot of interviews happening, including this evening when I'm going to be having Jason Lavigne on the podcast tonight to talk about the Coots 4. Now let's get into some of these stories, because I've been slacking and having a laugh at all this other stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about the economy before getting into this, but I don't know if I have time, so I'm just gonna get right into it. Now, I'm gonna start this off before getting into the RCMP thing, because Stephen Rogers, apparently a lieutenant from the United States, responded to the Canadian Prime Minister about what it was that he had said about misinformation, disinformation coming from the right wing in America. And well, some people in America have taken great offense to a public national leader saying stuff like this, because that would insinuate that the American right wing is trying to interfere in the political landscape in Canada, which we absolutely take serious in this country. At least some of us do. But Trudeau, obviously not so keen on the looking into the Chinese stuff. But here's Lieutenant Rogers responding to the Canadian PM Justin Trudeau. As soon as it goes, it's like special report up. There we go.
During the past 2 years, we have been warning our congressional representatives about the serious threat Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is becoming to the cause of freedom and liberty in Canada, as well as to the national security of the United States of America, as a result of enacting laws that mirror the policies of the Chinese Communist Party. For example, Trudeau had a law passed by his parliament that is tantamount to censoring all broadcasting flowing in and out of Canada. Now, this, in my view, is the construction of a 21st century Berlin Wall, not made of brick, not made of mortar,
digital one,
but made of electronic barriers. He is also supporting Marxist ideologies to be taught to young children in schools all across Canada. Now, look, one might say, well, you've had that problem in the United States of America. Yes, we have, and we took care of it. And we're continuing to take care of it.
Take care of ours.
By tossing out school board members and by putting an end to the political careers of those who support this Marxist ideology. Now, one might also say, well, isn't that the problem of the Canadian people to address? Well, I'll tell you something. They are addressing it, and they're doing it gallantly. They're doing it with great strength.
Yes.
And they're doing it within the framework of the law.
Yep.
And to a great degree, they are winning. But Trudeau took things out of his country and placed them at the doorstep of millions of Americans when he blamed what he defines as the American right wing for the opposition he is receiving by Canadian citizens to his very own policies.
That's right.
The term American right wing is the same term used by the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, and the FBI when targeting conservatives, Republicans, parents attending school board meetings, and patriotic Americans fighting to preserve their freedoms, their liberties, and their individual rights. Additionally, his statement comes at a time when we in America are approaching a very critical presidential election, as well as congressional and state elections. Now, if that's not election interference by a foreign government, then what is? Presently, The Hague is reviewing thousands of pages of evidence regarding the actions of Trudeau. And this past week, the EU Parliament heard testimony from a Canadian citizen victimized by government-sanctioned abuse and excessive force by the Canadian police. And the Ohio State Legislature here in the United States has already recommended that the Canadian government be placed on a religious watch list. In view of the fact that Trudeau has recklessly and without any justification attacked millions of Americans, the United States Congress cannot afford to sit idly by and allow a communist influencer like Trudeau to spread his propaganda without being held accountable. It's time for the United States Congress to address Trudeau and investigate exactly what is going on in Canada as it relates to United States national security. It's time for Congress to invoke the Truman and Reagan doctrine that commits the United States of America to fight and prevent the spread of communism everywhere on this planet, including Canada. I urge every American media outlet to follow events unfolding in Canada and every American patriot to contact their congressional representatives and urge them to address this matter sooner rather than later. Now let us keep our nations in prayer and remember that scripture in 2 Corinthians 3:17, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Well, that says to me that it's very important that we not only take the action we're taking politically, but we take that action in prayer, especially at this critical time in the history of our countries. Thank you. I'm Lieutenant Stephen Rogers.
Those are some strong words. I'm not gonna lie. Holy cow! And to hear that coming from the United States is amazing. It actually is amazing. And whoa, chills from that. I hope there are a lot of Americans that have that sentiment that are backing us, are behind us in this fight against this. And well, we've all seen it. Look over to Europe, and we have. Hell yeah, he's based. Yeah, I'm not your buddy guy with the $2 super chat. Thanks. Yeah, totally based. And this is amazing to see. A push in the right direction. I mean, NATO. What is the whole reason for NATO? NATO is to push back the communists. And when Russia ended communism, when communism was over, it was supposed to be disbanded. But instead, it's being used as a war machine to fight proxy wars that they want to fight over in other places. I say we take that fervor and we bring it back, and we look for the people that are trying to bring on communism domestically. This is definitely a thing. And how are they doing it? Well, they're doing it through crashing our economy. They're doing it through just slow move towards infiltration. And here is some of that infiltration that's being discovered even today. And today in the news, here's Jody Trin on Twitter tweeting out, "We've confirmed this photo of ex-RCMP officer William Matcher." I think that's how you pronounce that, Matcher. He's been charged with foreign interference offenses. RCMP Inspector David Burdoin says that, Burdoin, I think is maybe how you say that, says it's not related to election meddling. That involves activities between 2014 and 2019. So let's get into this story here. Now, this is being reported, so we'll take with this, because it's breaking news, with a grain of salt. I'm going to look into it. I'll look at a bunch of different articles, see what other people are saying about these things. I'll pull the chat up while I'm going through this article. But Baudouin is how you pronounce that? Baudouin? Baudouin? I got all kinds of people telling me how to pronounce it in the chat. I love this. So because it's breaking news, we're going to get a little bit of stuff here on the weekend. We'll find out. I'll read a bunch of different publications, because this is what I do, right? I'll go through all the different articles. I'll see what the left is saying. I'll see what the right is saying. I'll see what the usual neutral people are saying. It even depends on not just the publication, but the individual writers. They might be writing. They write, with the slanted biases that they have, and then the editors edit how they want to. So usually you have some of the truth, and then the real truth is somewhere in the middle. But that's not always the case. This is just the rule of thumb that I play with this here. But let's get into this. Ex-Mountie charged with foreign interference, accused of using extensive network to help China. That's that kind of sucks. Like, we wouldn't really want to have people in positions of authority within our government, within the policing infrastructure of our government, federal or provincial or municipal, whatever, interfered with by and helping a foreign government. And now it may be said, we don't know I don't know any of the details of this yet, but if it is said that in the future, what he was doing could be legal in other countries, but you would have in the other countries you'd have to be registered. Why is our government fighting this so bad? The Liberals all fought against having a foreign registry, a registry of foreign, lobbyists, things like that. Every other country has this. Why is it that Canada doesn't have this? The RCMP says it arrested and charged a retired member of its force with foreign interference-related offenses connected to crimes allegedly committed in the years after he left the RCMP. So this is after he left the RCMP. Okay. William Matcher, 60, from Hong Kong, is accused of helping the Chinese government's efforts to identify and intimidate an individual outside the scope of Canadian law. Mr. Matcher allegedly used his knowledge and his extensive network of contacts in Canada to obtain intelligence or services to benefit the People's Republic of China, said the RCMP in a statement issued Friday. According to the RCMP, the charges follow an investigation from the Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, INSET for short, launched in fall of 2021. Regardless of his suspicious activities, Matcher appeared via a video conference at Longueuil, I'm not even bother with that one, courthouse on Friday after being arrested in Vancouver on Thursday night. He's been charged with two counts under the rarely used Security of Information Act, preparatory acts for the benefit of a foreign entity and conspiracy. In an interview with CTV News, RCMP Inspector David Baudouin said he could not talk about the victim, but said this is a serious event for the RCMP. I wonder, because this is all coming up while the MP from the Conservatives is being investigated. I wonder if there's any tie. I don't know. I'm speculating at this point. However, it's important to note that Mr. Matcher, the alleged infractions were currently being bringing to the review of the court occurred between 2014 and 2019. Mr. Matcher's employment with the RCMP ended in 2007. So this was after. So we're talking about criminal behavior that occurred 7 years after his employment with the RCMP. At this point, we do not have any indication of infiltration or any other individuals with the RCMP or the Canadian government that may have been involved in this criminal activity. Baudouin, who is in charge of operations for INSET, said the investigation originated with the RCMP's national security program and then was assigned to the Montreal's INSET group. From that point on, a team of investigators here took on the file and has managed the progress to the point where we were able to arrest Mr. Matcher last night in Vancouver while he was visiting Canada, Baudouin said. It is also important to underline that it is not the conclusion of the file, that there are still possibilities that we might arrest and actually lay criminal charges against more people in the coming period, he said. Pressed for more details on how former Monte allegedly used his intel and contacts to help China, Baudouin said RCMP will be presenting further details in court. The allegations against the former Monte have not been proven, and his next scheduled court date is July 25th. So yeah, there's wow. Charges and amid focus on China meddling. Yeah, so getting into some of the context of this around Canada. Now, this is what's been going on here in Canada, and it's unbelievable that it's all coming out to light now. But I guess it's got to come out to light at some point. But just to think of all the times that all the times and opportunities that they had to find more information about this and the players in all of this, and it's all coming out because of political pressure, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to in my main point in this whole thing. Because without the political pressure, I don't think anybody was eager to even look into any of this stuff. Now, this isn't the first time that there's been corruption within the RCMP. We've all seen some of that in recent times, and I'm doing some research for a story probably come Monday that I'll be able to publish on the channel. Get a lot more information. So today, this is all breaking stuff at the moment, but this is by no means over. It's again, thanks to all the political pressure, we've got ourselves a scenario where we're actually starting to see this being investigated. So just bear with me here as I'm also bringing in Jason Lavigne in to talk about this story with the Coots 4, which again, I've mentioned this a bunch of times that I don't have that much information on the story myself, but luckily Jason is coming in just a few moments here to help out with that, because, well, again, I don't like to jump the gun. That's just basically where I'm at with that. If I jump the gun on a story, I've had to do this before, where I've had to make retractions on stories, and it's just easier if I just don't make those mistakes in the first place. And with the Coots 4, I want to get this one right, because I know that there's a lot of contention around the story, and I know that there's a lot at stake for these 4 gentlemen that are in custody and still in custody after over 500 days. And I want to get this story right, and I want to bring this out to the public and be able to talk about it in a fair way. So I guess without further ado, let's just get right into it and bring in Jason Lavigne. Jason, welcome. Thanks for finally joining me. I've been trying to make a connection with you for some time, and it's been really difficult. My schedule's so tight. I've got so much going on, especially with a full-time job, and you're busy all the time as well. And I see that you're online nearly every day, and you're covering lots of different stories. So yeah, pleasure to make my acquaintance to you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, Clyde. And yeah, it's been interesting to try and line up our schedules, because I do 2 daily podcasts, a morning one and an afternoon one. So it definitely makes it a little bit difficult to kind of arrange a time with you. But I'm glad we made this happen today. So thank you for reaching out.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure that there's links in the description of this video. We'll get links out so everybody can go subscribe to your channel and follow you there, so you can check out more of that. I understand you do on YouTube and also Rumble, I saw.
I'm on 8 platforms, so I'm on all the major ones. Facebook,
Okay,
Twitter,
okay.
Getter, all of them.
All right, yeah, I've just
we have to get the messages out.
I guess, yeah, I've been dropping the ball on that, going out to all the different platforms. I put out a little bit here and there. My mainstay is here on YouTube, but so I wanted to get into this, and this is the big issue with this story is there's not a lot of info, and it's really hard to get info, and I'm not gonna, I don't want to disparage anybody, but some people are saying stuff about it, and I don't know if it's true or not. And a lot of it's on hearsay, and somebody said this and somebody told me that, and I can't report stuff that just people heard through the grapevine until I can get some sort of confirmation on it. But you've been covering this extensively, and what do you have to tell us about the? Well, why don't we start from the beginning? Coots border. During the Freedom Convoy, they had what the RCMP want to call a blockade, what the government wants to call a blockade. It was a massive slowdown. It was an inconvenience for everybody. You can have it both ways, right? You could take that rhetoric and spin it both ways. But there was a lot of people who are upset for good reason over the mandates and protesting for that particular reason. Now, the government had a very strong incentive to shut things down, put an end to the whole standoff at Coots, and in the process, some things went down. And why don't we start from there, because this is where some of the information I don't know is true, and I don't know what's real. Guns were found, threatening letters were found, or manifestos. I don't know if any of this stuff is true. I can't believe the media. I can't believe what the RCMP is telling us. I can't believe what CISA is telling us. Everything that happened at the inquiry would lead me to think that I'm justified in saying that. So tell us the story.
Well, the first thing I'd like to correct is there's no manifesto or threatening letters in the disclosure provided by the Crown. So if this exists, it's not being used in the
So
court.
that would
They
just be a
haven't developed-
media spin at this point because it's not listed as documents.
Correct. There's over 3,000 documents and pages, and that's not one of them. There's also no wiretaps, and there's no recordings of the informants at all either.
There's no recordings.
So I want correct. So there's a lot of information out there that there's recordings catching them. There's text messages. No, there's 2 RCMP informants that had no recording devices on them.
So
they gave affidavits, written affidavits.
So what are the arrests over? Because I know that there was so the timeline that I'm aware of for the Coots incident, the Coots blockade or whatever you want to call it. The timeline that I'm aware of is they were there, everything was good, everything was peaceful, and then one day the RCMP came with a bunch of photographs of guns, and everyone said, I don't want anything to do with this, and that's when everybody said, okay, they threw in the towel and they walked away.
Well, that is how the protest ended, yes.
Okay.
So February 14th, when the press conference came out and the guns were displayed in that photograph, that is when things wrapped up in the Coots area, yes. But there's a little bit more to how that all rolled out.
Well, fill me in. Let me know. Yeah. How did this happen?
My pleasure, Clyde.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about first is I'm going to start on February 14th when the RCMP officer came out and gave the press conference and explained to Canada exactly what they discovered. She was there, and we can certainly give you the links. She explained to Canada how they captured a group of people within the group, and she called it a separate group from the protest. And she said she had intelligence, that we understand these guys were heavily armed. They were working with a nationwide organization. They had leadership outside of Coots. She went into quite a bit of detail at about 1 p.m. February 14th, Mountain Standard Time. The time is important, and you're going to see why in a moment. Now, what she was explaining to us was a massive cachet, leadership, a large group coast to coast. You know, she's talking about Diagolong. We'll get into that one.
Oh, well, that's a stretch to call that.
That's the group she was referring to. She was referring to Diagolong, and that's why the patches were in the photograph. That's the connection they made.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah. So I think you already know where we're headed with this.
Okay, but the audience may
14th,
not. So let's go into it.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there for sure. So February 14th, she made this declaration. You should know how they were actually arrested, when they were arrested, and what they were charged with.
Okay.
So on February 13th at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, all the times I'm going to give you a Mountain Standard, even though we're going to be dealing with Ottawa at one point as well.
Okay.
So at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Chris Lysyk was on a live stream. He was walking around supporting the protest. There wasn't really much going on, and you'll see in the live stream, it wasn't like crowded shoulder to shoulder. It was just people hanging out. And he made a comment to a police officer along the lines of, oh, that's a nice gun. I wish I had one like that. Something along those lines. They arrested him immediately for that comment and called that uttering a threat. So Chris Lysyk was arrested February 13th, 9 p.m. and charged with uttering a threat. 50 minutes later,
do we have a like a police statement or a police document for that?
We have the arrest reports. Yeah, all of that's in the disclosure.
And so that's what's being said was said to the officer. That's a nice firearm.
Well, that's actually in his video. He was live streaming at the time, so his live stream is still available, so you can actually check that out.
Oh, okay.
So at that moment, yeah, it's quite amazing how much evidence actually exists that nobody's talking about, and that would be one. So Chris Lysyk was live streaming, and at 9 p.m. February 13th, Mountain Standard Time, he was arrested. And again, he was arrested for uttering a threat by making that comment about the weapon.
Right.
And I also want to let you know that charge didn't stay. So uttering a threat is not what he's charged with today.
So
he was
that charge dropped, but that was what he was arrested on the 14th for.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then at 9:50, so 50 minutes later,
incidentally, that was the same day that they invoked the Emergencies Act, February 14th.
No, it's the next day, February 14th. We're on the 13th here.
Oh, we're on the 13th. Okay.
Yeah. So on the 13th at 9 p.m., Chris Lysyk was arrested for uttering a threat.
Okay, I'm following now.
At 9:50 p.m., Tony Olenek was arrested for mischief. And he too was doing a live stream just before he was arrested. So we know his location and the time. Just before he was arrested, he was actually streaming the officers who actually eventually arrested him. So he was arrested for mischief. Keep in mind, neither one of these men had weapons.
Mm-hmm.
None of the weapons were taken from them at this point. At 12:30 in the morning, February 14th, so now we're on the 14th, but we're on at 12:30 in the morning, Chris Carbert was arrested. He was arrested in the trailer, and he had 6 guns with him. This is important. And then about noon, let me go check the time here. At about 12 o'clock noon, February 14th, Jerry was arrested. He was arrested 3 hours away from Coots, and he was arrested west of Calgary on his way to work. And they picked up 2 guns from him when they arrested him. This is important.
Okay.
Then they put this all together and called it a conspiracy to commit murder. At this time, none of them were charged with that. They were all charged with mischief or uttering a threat. At 12 o'clock, when Jerry was picked up, he's the first one that actually gets a conspiracy to commit murder charge put on him. Sorry, I'm going to back up a bit. At 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, the RCMP came out and say, we've arrested 4 people, charged them with conspiracy to commit murder, and they were part of this group. This is what her announcement was. However, it was an hour later that Jerry got picked up and charged with conspiracy to commit murder. So when she gave that statement, he wasn't charged or even picked up yet. At 1:41 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 3:41 Eastern Standard Time, the PM announced the invocation of the Emergency Act.
Okay.
And then according to the charge records, at 4:58 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is when the other men were charged with conspiracy to commit murder. So at this point, the PM has already invoked the EA, and then 3 of the gentlemen are charged with conspiracy to commit murder. But this is 5 hours after the RCMP declared that they did this, charged them with conspiracy to commit murder. Now, what I'm highlighting here is the entire press conference from the RCMP, at least that portion of it, was highly inaccurate and not justified by the arrest records or the times that were placed in them or the charge records. So we had the arrest record the day before for 2 gentlemen, and then on the 14th for the other 2 gentlemen, and then we have the charge records, which come much later. So what we're highlighting here is some of the information coming out of the RCMP the day of is suspect, according to the information we have. And what it seems like is maybe she didn't have all the information, or they didn't have her story straight, or whatever was going on. But at the time that she declared those statements, these men were not charged with these crimes yet.
So what are they being? They're being held on these charges, and that's what they're being charged with.
Well, they all we have the charge sheet.
Conspiracy to commit.
That's the main one.
And
murder.
Yeah, and all of them are being charged. And who's the conspiracy against? Who are they conspiring allegedly?
That's a fun one. It's either one or more RCMP officers. The statements have changed. So it's either one or more RCMP officers. Nothing specific, no specific name, no like officer ABC, nothing like that. It's just a general statement that they were going to kill somebody, according to the police.
Right. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. Why are they still being detained?
Oh, my goodness. Now you're bringing up some of the really big questions here. We don't have an answer to that, to be honest with you. They've been through some bail hearings, but we don't have access to certain pieces of information. So there's these documents called information to obtain. And what these are documents written by the police or the Crown when they're trying to get a warrant. And there were several of these documents created in order to get the warrant to search the house in Coots, which eventually they found 6 guns in the trailer with. Right. These documents are sealed and we can't see them. And these are what were put under a publication ban. So when you hear people talk about a media ban on the Coots stuff, they're very inaccurate. There's a publication ban on certain documents, but everything else is open. The court is open. It's open to the public, and we can report on everything else. For some reason, the media here in Canada decided to call that a full-on media ban and went silent. Main state media, we get it. We understand why they would do it. But alternate media also did that as well. They haven't been reporting on it until just this week. So I'm not sure if you noticed, but we had a Newsweek article come out. And then since then, True North and Rebel have both been writing and putting out videos and articles on this. And I kind of want to highlight something to you, Clyde. The court hasn't changed their mind on this publication ban. It's been set in stone since the beginning because it's the defense who put that in place. What's in place now was what was in place at the beginning. So now that Rebel and the rest are reporting on it, which we're very happy about because we definitely want the reporting to be done, they're reporting under the same conditions they've always been under, which means they could have been reporting the entire time.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason why I haven't reported on this is because all I've been able to get is hearsay, and normally like what I'm doing is I'm taking publications and then I'm unspinning the news. I'll try to get in touch with people on the ground if I can, or look at the whole scenario and see what are the missing parts and what, because most of the media, what they'll do is they'll lie by omission, right? Like you'll get a part of the story and then you'll find the rest of the story somewhere else, and then you can report on its entirety. And that's usually my technique for finding this out. But when nobody else is investigating into it, it's really difficult. And I'm glad that you're digging into this one and bringing this out into the forefront. And finally, I'm able to bring you on the show so you can bring this out. But
well, I didn't quite answer your question though. I apologize. I just realized.
Yeah, I have too many more questions because I'm really curious. Okay. So why is it? Yeah, answer that question, because one thing that's really got me mixed up is we have people with all kinds of heinous crimes, like actual committing of crimes, not conspiring and thinking about and telling people that you would like to commit these crimes, but people who have actually are alleged of committing a crime, alleged to have committed a crime and being let out on bail. And this is kind of famous with the Trudeau's cabinet in Canada, and many other authorities throughout the country letting people out on heinous things. And why is that not the case in this case?
That's an excellent question, Clyde. And listen, we watched the Public Order Emergency Commission, and this is important because they were able to get the defense for that ready. They were able to tell Rouleau what was going down here and provided that information to him. What we're missing, though, is what's called in camera. So all the stuff that was not shown in public, and in camera means in secret, just so you know term, but that's what it means. So
no, I didn't know that's what that meant. Can you describe like what that actually means?
It just means that there's going to be a meeting behind closed doors and it will not be made public, and they call that in camera. So when you're hearing like the POEC talking, they're like, well, we spoke to the national security in camera. That means in private. It's a weird term.
It's a euphemism.
I didn't on camera.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So it's not something you can review later.
No. So all the information that's been used to hold them without bail, deny their bail, it's in camera. We don't have those documents. They're sealed and hidden from us. And they're the same documents that were used in the POEC to clear the government that Rouleau got to see. Now, according to Rouleau, during his report, and we have the advantage of having that report, and it's tied to the Coots thing, everything that was justified to invoke the EA came down to the national security concern stemming from the Coots guns and the organization that they were associated with, Diagolon, in order to invoke the EA. So all the information that Rouleau got to see about how bad these people were and what evidence that they claimed to have on these gentlemen, he got to see that, but it hasn't been brought out in court. It's not evidence in court, hasn't been challenged by the defense, hasn't even been seen by the defense. But that document was used at the POEC to justify the use of the Emergency Act. Those same documents are also being used to show to the judges here that these are incredibly dangerous men. And those are the documents that are being used to deny bail at this point.
But again, you can't see them.
Well, we can imagine what it says because the RCMP came out and said there's this group, they have leaders, they're national, they're heavily armed. Like everything they said there is likely what's in these documents. We just haven't physically got to see them.
Right. So if you want to paint something as like a group or something like that, you have to define it in specific ways, like legally, right? You have to say it's a group, they have members, they have chapters, they have leadership, there's a criteria before you can say that it's a terrorist group or something or another, anything you want to label them with. how loosely have they defined that? Because I mean, I've talked to Jeremy Mackenzie, and I've talked to a number of the people from Diagolon, or I mean, it's not even really a thing. Is it really even a thing? All I know about,
I think it's a family, to be honest with you. I think it's a family of like-minded people who are frustrated, but they understand that they have limits on what they should and shouldn't do, including violence, because they've never been charged or even committed violence, this entire group. But I think it's a really cool community. It's more of a, I would say, a community than anything else.
So like I've talked with so many people who wear the Diagolon gear and all that stuff, but I didn't know, I didn't see it as like an organization, but just like a bunch of people who like a show on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like wearing a t-shirt that says Cheers because you like the TV show Cheers or whatever, right? That's all I likened it to. And a bunch of people, I mean, they're politically active people, obviously. So that's...
Well, the good news is the POEC did show that it wasn't what they said it was. So the POEC did not establish Diagolon as anything more than a group of people who haven't been violent and have not overthrown a government. That much came out on the POEC. So that narrative is, established in the POEC as a non-narrative. It's not factually true. So now reverse all the way back to February 2022, when they were using that narrative to put these men in jail. For some reason, that information hasn't made its way to the Alberta courts, that there is no group, there is no leader, there is nobody commanding them, which is what they were saying they were doing. So it's kind of interesting how the POEC has concluded, and they even did a report and cleared themselves, but yet the information used there didn't make its way back to Alberta to assist these gentlemen at all.
Well, even in fact, during Jeremy Mackenzie, when he did his testimony for the POEC, I recall there was a point in there where his lawyer was doing his cross examination and asked him about a scenario where there was a bunch of people that introduced themselves in their community as being like gun-toting, want to run around in the woods and fight against the government thing, and he described how himself and members of his community called the RCMP about these people. Like they weren't.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't like these guys. The Diagolon guys are not being like, they're being painted in a certain way, but in practice, they're actually in telling the RCMP when they see stuff that's not kosher, not good, not stuff that should be done, and stuff that they don't want in their community, because they're like, we don't want violence. This is not what's going on. And this is the gist that I got from it, just from the testimony of the so-called leader of Diagolon. For those who don't know, and for people who are just watching this, a little reference on what Diagolon is. It was this comedy skit, essentially.
Yeah, it's a comedy group.
Group, guys that like to talk. It's mixed with political rhetoric and all that stuff in a podcast, but in lots of alcohol fueled as well, comedy stuff. And
he used to be. He's been sober since September now.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't aware of that. But the whole
the Pierre joke. You know the Pierre joke he told?
Yeah.
That's the day he quit drinking because he felt bad about that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I did an interview with him, and we got that information from him because I brought up the joke, and I asked him about the joke. Now, he didn't apologize because he actually stands by his joke. It's a joke. He believes he has the right to tell jokes. Right. He doesn't have to apologize for jokes. But he also believes that maybe he was a little bit too inebriated that night, and that was his last drink that night. Him and Morgan May both gave up alcohol that night.
Both gave up. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Good for him.
They're excellent people. So...
But the gist of what I got, and this is to explain to the audience who don't know,
sorry about that,
is that it was this comedy group, and they came up with this idea. Most of the like-minded people live in flyover country, which kind of spans from Alaska through Canada all the way to Florida. And they're like, and he drew a line on the map, and it was a diagonal line. He said we should make our own country, Diagolon, and it was a joke. I think the leader of the country is the president's a cocaine addicted goat.
The vice president. Yeah, the vice president is Philip, a cocaine addicted goat. I met him during the interview. He's a jerk. He's not a fun guy. Okay, so yeah, it's all a joke, and it's all supposed to be in humor.
in jest, and yet the government has taken this and ran with it. And I see this, like, it's not very dissimilar to a thing that happened in the United States just around the election of Donald Trump. And that was the Kekistan. It was this whole a very similar thing where they made a internet meme and it turned into a country flag, and it was not real call to arms or anything, or real call to anything really, except just the joke, and see how many people you could get to buy into the joke. And apparently a bunch of politicians did, including Hillary Clinton, and it was quite embarrassing for anybody who fell for the joke. And Diagolon was much the same. And I think it is very embarrassing. But it's funny how in Canada it turned into this very serious thing with our politicians. And it's not like, and that's not the only thing that's become very serious with these politicians. There was a recent one with Pierre Poilievre and Danielle Smith. They were photographed with a guy wearing a shirt that said, "Thank a straight person for your existence." Straight pride. Yeah, straight pride. Which again is a joke. At the heart of it, I don't think anyone really takes it seriously, but the media does, and the media loves taking these jokes and running them as if they're this big thing. Anyway, I'm rambling about the existence of Diagolon and all of that. So that got tied in with the Coots 4. Now, these guys are in essentially indefinite detention, not being allowed out for bail. What recourse do we have here? Like we have to wait until their court date to see, so they can see their day in court, and that's that, or?
Well, yeah, you're on the right track. So on Tuesday, July 25th, so next Tuesday, the one coming up, is their next court date. I'll be there, so I'll be covering it in Lethbridge all 4 days, and we're going to make sure that we get that information out now. So for all the time prior to now, we had loose information, but now I'm going to be there getting information. I'm going to tell you what's going on, though, on the 25th. It's kind of important, and you're going to probably like this. Before I go there, though, I just want to say one more thing about Diagolon.
Yeah, sure.
Diagolon, yes, you said Alaska all the way down to Florida. But what the press said and what the government said was Jeremy's intent was to make that white people only, so white supremacists.
Oh, of course. Yeah, they always tie this. It's just more.
And I also want to include one more thing. If this was Jeremy's plan, living in Nova Scotia, which is not part of that white area at all, it's the other side of the country, would be a weird place to have your leader. Just putting it out there. He didn't even live in the white area.
People are sick of it, though. I mean, this whole like cries of white supremacy and stuff. I mean, people have tried to label me that. I mean, my wife is from Japan. I mean, it's ridiculous.
My wife's from Nigeria, dude. Yeah, I get it too.
Right. So I mean, and what Jeremy, when he was doing this podcast, his best friend who was podcasting with him was a black man. I mean, like, it's
the accounting guy.
And of course, immediately they'll come at you. Like as soon as you get on the defensive, people will say, "Oh, you've tokenized these people, and that's what you're doing." I don't even have time for that. It's insane.
It's insane. Remember the honk honk means Heil Hitler? Remember how she said that?
I do recall. I mean, that became a meme itself because it's so out to lunch.
That's the type of people.
It's so out to lunch. I mean, that stuff, like, let racism die where it belongs. I mean, that's where it belongs. I mean, in the grave, because
for sure.
And we've moved so far past days where real racism existed. And we should let it die. We should really let it die, because our country, I mean, it doesn't take you much to just go travel around Canada and realize that sentiment doesn't exist here.
It's a great country.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't anywhere. I've never personally seen it other than bad jokes from time to time, but that would be it. I haven't personally seen that anywhere in Canada.
Yeah.
I've seen it in the United States when I visit there. Yeah.
Well, I the parts of the states that I've been to, I haven't seen it, but I need to travel a little more.
It's not bad though. Yeah. But I'm going to get to this court thing for you.
Yes.
So on June 29th was a very interesting day for the men and the entire matter, actually. So the lead crown, so the deputy, let me get his proper title here so I have it for you. Deputy Chief Prosecutor of Alberta Prosecution Services. His name is Steve Johnson. So he's the lead prosecutor, the lead crown on this. On the 29th of June, he was no longer in the court. And neither was his sidekick, the second in command. Neither one of them were in court. It was a third gentleman there from the Crown's office sitting there, wondering what's going on. because they got notice that Steve Johnson is not welcome in the court, and neither is his sidekick. What happened was the Crown's office, and you're going to like this, they were playing games. So they gave disclosure last hour really. And the defense caught wind of something missing. So they said, look, you didn't provide this disclosure. And then in a rush, in a haste, the Crown provided that disclosure because, of course, the judge is like, you must. But they didn't redact that package. There was stuff in that package that they redacted previously, but not in the package they gave to the defense. So the defense recognized the value of this information that was unwittingly provided. And we now understand that it's very, very important information. We don't know exactly what it is because it's under seal. But what it did do was the prosecutor could not be in the court anymore. There's a rule in the court that witnesses cannot sit during the proceedings until they're called as a witness. He's now been referred to as a witness in this proceeding, so he cannot sit in the court anymore, and neither can his sidekick. So there's a third Crown who's now involved in the case. At this time, it was made clear that the RCMP, if they want to see the contents of this sealed envelope, they have to get counsel or lawyer up. And the Law Society of Alberta is now involved, taking a close look at misconduct for a lawyer. We don't know the name of that lawyer, but we do know that they are now involved. This has caused the defense to file what's called a CC1, which is an application in criminal court to do something. Now, again, these are under seal, so we don't know what they're asking for. But what we do know is that Steve Johnson will not be in court. He can't go back to court because they are now also saying he may be a possible defendant in this matter. So, whatever that means, we're going to find out on the 25th.
Whoa. That's
so we believe
really big.
Yes. Now, from our side, we're incredibly excited. The men are excited. The defense team is excited. They know what is in there. The men know what's in there. We just can't release that information.
Okay.
It's under seal right now.
So it's under seal. And,
but
and you don't personally know any of this information. So.
No, I personally don't know what's in it, but I do know it was an inadvertent disclosure. So a redacted document wasn't redacted accidentally, I guess you can say.
Wow. Now we've heard I've been following these cases for a while now. You hear about Tamara Litchin, Chris Barber's case, and just the sloppiness of the Crown prosecutors in that case, and not only sloppiness, but the vindictiveness, it seems, and I'm trying not to make accusations here, like, because I'm not in that position to accuse anyone of anything, but it doesn't seem right with the way the courts are behaving.
I got two more nuggets for you here, Clyde.
Okay.
I got two more, because these are the ones that made Viva Frei's eyebrows raise up this morning. So I was on his show this morning, and we talked about this in depth as well. And there was two parts that really interest him. The next one was the picture of the guns. So there's 15 of them on that table.
Okay, so I wanted to get into that.
Yeah, 6 of them are accounted for the men. The other 9, we still don't know through disclosure who owned what. So there's 9 weapons on that table that we were shown. We don't know the owner of them. The other 6, one of them is a handgun, which is restricted and requires a restricted PAL, and it was loaded. So this is what's causing problems for one of the gentlemen. The other 5 weapons are long guns, unrestricted long guns, 22s. They're all legal. They're completely legal. Mm-hmm. So on that table of 15 weapons that you see, only 6 of them are attributed to the men who are in jail. The other 9 are attributed to other people. We don't know who. Right. And of those 6, 5 of them are incredibly legal. So there's one gun that is questionable because it's a handgun. It has to be stored away. It can't have ammunition in it. So there's a problem around that. Mm-hmm. But all 4 men are charged with the same gun crime here. And then the next piece of this is gun number 8. So if you count the guns from left to right, gun number 8 is a military style AR-15, I believe it is. That gun's not available in the public. It's very difficult to get your hands on. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it.
It's a military style AR-15, so it's
correct.
It has full auto capabilities.
No, not full auto, but it's under the order in council prohibited weapon. So it's not full auto, but it's
Okay.
one of the guns that are listed under that order in council to be prohibited.
Oh, okay.
Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is it's very difficult for citizens to get their hands on that one.
Right.
However, that is an RCMP issued style gun. We don't know if it's that one specifically, but we have pictures of RCMP training equipment, including that particular weapon. The same model
so
and everything.
there's because forgive me if I'm jumping to conclusions.
Maybe the table had something, but I don't know. It's not one of the men's weapons.
So forgive me if I'm jumping to conclusions, and I read so many comments, countless comments when this picture was published, and it was all over Twitter, it was all over the media. This picture of these guns, and I need to pull up a picture of it, but it was sus, to say the least.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody was commenting on this, like what? Where did this come from? This is so out of left field. It didn't seem right. And not only that, but like, you know, people were looking at it going, a lot of people were saying, half those guns I own. You know what I mean? Like people were actually saying that.
There's a 22 there. Yeah, these are just normal weapons. There's nothing dangerous or scary about them. They're all legal except for the 2 handguns and that one gun, number 8.
I'm going to try to find a picture of it. Coots, guns.
Well, while you're doing that, let me tell you about the next part that raised Viva's eyebrow. So do you remember the massacre in Nova Scotia where the guy dressed up as an RCMP officer went around, caused some damage and hurt some people?
Yes.
All right. So we have a recording of Brenda Lucky, who reached out to the Nova Scotia Department for the RCMP. And in this recording, she's requesting from them a list of the weapons that were used. And she does say she wants to use it for political reasons. The officers or the investigators on the recording said, absolutely not. We have an open investigation. We have no idea if there's accomplices. We need to investigate this. So we are not releasing this information to the public yet. But in Alberta, they released it within an hour. They put it all on a table. They're telling the entire public without doing DNA, without bagging it up, without treating this as proper evidence, because it should be processed on the scene as evidence, which means it's bagged up with gloves. They're going to dust it for prints.
Absolutely.
They're going to check for DNA. None of that was done. And none of that can be done because of the way they handled the weapons and staged that photo.
Right,
because there's
now.
The weapons touching each other.
There's a chain of command that you have to follow in
custody. It's called it's called the chain of custody.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so chain of custody. Yeah. I have the image here. So,
yeah, there it is.
There it is. This is this layout, this display to show the media and basically scare people. I mean, they
100%.
They even included it looks like a large like bush knife. As if
there's a machete there. There's bear spray there. There is a buckshot. There's birdshot.
Those are all just. I mean, if you're an avid woodsman, I mean, that's just the thing. To throw that out there is just, it's like it's almost like propaganda. That's what a lot of people felt when they saw this image.
Correct.
What is this?
No.
There's one on there that looks like a Chris Vector. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it is, and that's completely legal. Yeah, it is a Chris Vector.
I didn't know those are legal in Canada. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Yeah, it's actually a very nice gun, but it is legal. And there's a whole bunch of things wrong with this picture. This is not how you handle evidence as a police officer. So we have a ex-police officer on our show every morning talking about this. His name's Donald Best, and he's a corruptions investigator, and he worked for Toronto Police Services for 15 years. He sees this picture, and he's like, this is not professional in any way, shape, or form. The weapons can fall down off the table. You bump the table. They're touching each other. There's no way to DNA any of this anymore. There's no way to swab this stuff anymore. It's completely just laid out in what he calls a propaganda staged photo. And I believe that's exactly what it is, because this is not RCMP procedure. RCMP procedure is not to give out this information until your investigation is done. Now, if you look at the Nova Scotia one and can contrast it to this one, the Nova Scotia one, they said we were looking for accomplices. On this one, they said there's accomplices. They said in the press release that this is a huge group. There's people we haven't captured yet. So in the investigation, or for the benefit of the investigation, they should have been at least not telling everybody what guns they had, and continue to search for these accomplices before they start providing all this information like they did with the Nova Scotia incident. But unfortunately, in Alberta, they handled it very differently. They did this photo. I also want to highlight one more thing about this photo. There's a lot of people saying that this photo is fake, and there's this photo, that's not true. We've gone through enough of this to know which items do belong to the men. We won't go into detail about that because that's for the defense to do.
Right.
But we have confirmed that this photo is genuine. It's from February 14th, but it's definitely a staged photo that they wanted you to see. But it's not a fake. There's some rumors out there that there's a fake version of this.
Yeah, it just feels so suspect in this whole thing, and that's what I felt like, and this is why I can't really report on all this stuff because it's gut feeling, a lot of it, and I'm not a police officer. I was never trained in law enforcement, so I don't know the chain of custody when it comes to evidence. I mean, we've all seen photos like this when it comes to drug seizures.
Sure. And we spoke to Rick Abbott. So he was a police officer from the Edmonton Police Services who was fired. We can get into that. But yeah, he said the same thing. This is not the right way to do the evidence. This is completely incompetent, and this has got to be staged because you can't even process this stuff as good evidence anymore.
It's unbelievable. Really wrong with that. It can't even be used against them. So the fact that they're still in jail is just unbelievable to me.
Yeah, they're in jail, I believe, because of what the court was told. The same thing that Rollo was told, that it was beyond a doubt. We have plenty of intelligence. This is definitely an active organization that's ready to start taking people out. Fast forward 523 days, because that's how many days they've been in there. We're hearing a lot of different stories. We're not seeing the evidence in the disclosure. There was no wiretaps. There was no recordings of the informants. They didn't even. That's another thing that Donald Best highlighted to us, because there was 2 female informants, and we've seen pictures of them. They're small little ladies. They look young. They're attractive. That whole thing. But what Donald explained to us is there's no way the police send somebody in without wires. There's no way. For their safety alone, they're listening. For collecting of the evidence for the conversation, it's being recorded. That didn't happen in this case for some reason, and we're not sure why.
So I'm going to get to just a couple of super chats here real quick before we continue with this.
Sure.
We got I'm Not Your Buddy Guy with a $10 super chat saying, this disappointed me. She should have said Canadians are suffering from poverty and depression. The Prime Minister is trying to shut down the energy industry, and you care more about a T-shirt, really. In response to
for Pierre,
with Daniel Smith being asked about that as well. Same super chatter. I'm Not Your Buddy Guy with another $5 super chat saying Canada's judicial system is looking more and more like Soviet show trials. Definitely not good sign for those of us hoping Canada won't go commie. And that's it's. I don't even know to say that because, we even had a lieutenant in the United States come forward and say, like, we're standing with you, Canada, as your prime minister is making accusations of us meddling in your foreign affairs, even though it's you.
Right.
It's your people. It's your people that are standing up against the Canadian government in this. But so there's so much to cover on this story, and it just keeps going all over the place. Now, there was a report that came out a few months ago, and I noticed Rebel News covered this, but no one else touched it, and I was waiting on it because I don't know when people make claims and there's no evidence yet, I stay away from it. But there was a woman who made a claim that she had footage, like
audio.
It was an audio footage. She had proof, she said, that the RCMP had planted guns. And what happened from that? Because it disappeared. It went away and never came back.
Yeah. So she recanted that statement. So people are repeating that statement, but she's recanted it. She's clarified it. She said she doesn't believe they planted. She just said they brought in weapons into her home. We have a copy of the recording, but the recording is not part of disclosure. Neither side's trying to use it because it has no value for any side. What is going on there is this is the internet running with a misinformation. There is nothing there. There was no recording of anybody planting anything, nor does it matter, quite frankly, because the information we do have in the disclosures isn't enough, I think, for them to be charged with anything. Because what we do have is only 6 guns are attributed to the men that are on that table. 2 other guns that are not on that table were taken away from Jerry in his truck the next day after that photo was taken. And these guns are legal. So we don't have a concern, like from the defense side, about how the guns got to that table. We know where they were. 6 of the guns were with in the trailer with Chris, and the other 9 guns came from somewhere else and put together on that table. So what Joanne is probably referring to there is them collecting all the guns into one spot. But in either case, it doesn't show planting. It doesn't show anything like that, or the audio, I mean. It doesn't say anything like that. It's just misinformation is being spread around. So thank you for bringing that one up, because we really want to see that one go down and stop, because we're fielding that one all the time. So it's taking resources to address
It's
that.
another one that I didn't want to report on until I knew it to be accurate. And again,
your gut was right on that.
Yeah, well, right, because those are accusations. Those are really strong accusations too, to accuse an RCMP officer of planting evidence.
And that doesn't help us, because if they say, well, no, we didn't, and here's the proof, well, then are we all lying? No, it doesn't help us. Another one that I'd like to put an end to is the diagonal patches in that photo. So there's rumors that it was placed there by the RCMP onto that vest. That's not true. So we do know the person who handed out the patches, and he was handing out a whole bunch just to anybody that wanted them. They come in a pack of 2, and yeah, they just put one on the vest. Again, it doesn't mean anything because it's not a terrorist group like they keep saying, but we can put an end to that rumor. It wasn't planted, and it doesn't need to be planted anyways. But what is important is they definitely took a narrative. They made it look dangerous with all these guns. Only 6 of them are for these men. The other 9, we don't even know who owns them, and made it look like something it's not. So that's true. And we do contend that it is a staged photograph, and it is propaganda. But we can confirm it is a legit photograph. So that was taken on February 14th. The diagonal patches were on the vest, not placed there. And there is no audio recording that says there's anything planted. Those are all false.
So are the guys able to speak with people? Are they able to communicate?
Yeah, I speak to them all the time. Yeah. I get calls from them from between noon and 1. Chris Carbert will call me because that's his window. Between 1 and 3, Jerry can call. Chris Lysick can call whenever he gets out, because they're in solitary. So they get 2 hours outside of their cell, 22 hours in their cell. But they do call. And I also have access to an app.
That's torture.
Where we can do text messages. I'm just getting started on the torture, my friend, because they're in remand. I want you to understand, this is not prison. Prison would be an upgrade from remand. In the Canadian court system, we credit you for time served 2 to 1 for time served in a remand. So every day you're in a remand, you get credited 2 days, because that's so inhumane to be in a remand center. The reason is,
so they've been in for over 500 days, but in
523 days.
So technically it would be 1,046.
Yeah, 1,046. That would be what they're credited for as time served. Because in Canada, we've recognized it's a human right that this is a really bad place to be. Now, let me tell you some of the reasons why it's a bad place to be.
Well, I think it's recognized that solitary confinement over a period of time is considered torture. Like that is torture.
Well,
we're social animals, and psychology will dictate that we're social animals and we need to be around other people, or it can be detrimental to our emotional, our mental and physical health.
No, you're not wrong about that, but it's even worse because solitary confinement does exist in prison as well. In remand, they don't have the setup for long term. You don't get your own cell. You're moved around all the time. You don't know when you're coming out. This is like purgatory because they don't know a date when they're coming out. And there is no conjugal visits. You can't get that in prison. You can't get that here. You do not get access to all the medication that you need. For example, Chris Lysick has knee injuries. This guy's a large guy. He's got some knee injuries, and he takes supplements for it prior to be put into jail. But supplements are not available through Alberta Health Services. Because of that, it's not available in the prisons or the remand centers either. So he's had to, suffer. Yesterday, Chris Lysick got his contact lenses. It took 1.5 years. So now he gets to see. He hasn't been able to see for a year and a half. These are not how people should be treated. And I really could go on. I'll just give you some of the good stuff. So we got text messages from all four of the gentlemen, and we read them out loud on our show today because Friday is Friends and Family Day. We invite friends and family on, and we talk about the men. Mm-hmm. And they provided us all with a message to Canada. You can find this on my Twitter. I read it out loud. For example, Tony was excited and happy about sunlight coming through, hitting the wall, and for 30 minutes he got to watch it. That excited him. Chris Carbert told me about watching a grasshopper. He named it. Yep. Jerry was talking about how he saw a magpie eating and feeding its young and how beautiful that was because he could see it through the window. These are men who are looking for the beauty everywhere they can because this is where they're at. And none of them have any hate or anger towards even the government or the legal system. They're all waiting for their time. They believe they're innocent, and it's just a matter of time to come out. Even Chris Carbert said, when I get out, I want to start helping people because this was a horrible place. Jerry had to explain to his wife how come he was emotionally upset because he watched somebody get beat down while the guards watched. Like, this is their world right now.
And that's not even prison. It's not even...
No, it's remand. Yeah. And we're hearing stories out of the gentlemen, many of them. Hardened criminals will come in, they're big, tough guys, and then they get out, and then they come back. So sometimes they come back, repeat offenders.
Yeah.
And the repeat offenders are saying, why are you guys still here? Just call a lawyer. You can get out in no time. Even the criminals and repeat offenders and hardened criminals are confused why these gentlemen are still there.
Well, if you, I had Aaron Gunn on a few times. He's done some amazing
he's
documentaries.
A wonderful man.
And he was he in his documentary Canada is Dying. He talked extensively about that, and he had a bunch of people from the government, from the Conservative Party, come on, and talk about just why it's so easy for violent offenders, repeat violent offenders, to just get out, no problem, and to hear that these men have been in for 523 days. It's just beyond me. This isn't Canada. This isn't the Canada that I remember. That we've all, we all have this like idea of what government is and what they're allowed to do, what they're capable of doing, and they've broken all of the trusts that we have with them at this point.
You're not wrong. And Donald puts it best when he says everybody in Canada gets bail. So there's a police officer who was murdered. The accuser is out on bail in Toronto. As you saw, the Antifa guy who drove over people in Winnipeg, we saw that video. He had bail within a week. Everybody in Canada gets bail because we are innocent until proven guilty, except for these four: Tamara Lynch, Chris Barber, Jeremy McKenzie. These people are all being charged and sometimes held.
Pat King,
way beyond what's
Pat
normal.
King.
Pat King. Yes,
I'm not the biggest fan of his rhetoric and the stuff he says, but he didn't break any laws. I mean, and
well, you should at least have your trial before you start penalizing people.
Well, and then they drag that out, right? Oh, we're our judicial system's so overloaded.
No, it's a horrible setup, man. And the way we're looking at it is, they've been scared. I believe the judges have been scared by what's in those packages because they were told by the national security people, this is very, very real. And I believe they believed that. But now with this accidental disclosure, and we believe it's related to the warrant and how they got the warrant, it's being looked at now by the judge, and he's expedited things. So we're kind of optimistic that at least we'll get bail. This is what everybody's hoping for, is bail, so that they can get on with their lives while they get on with that trial.
Can people write them?
Absolutely. So go to the Facebook group called Alberta Political Prisoners. This is run by Granny Mackay, and on there's instructions on how you can write to the men. It's fairly simple.
Is there instructions where people don't use Facebook?
Sorry, what was that?
For people
don't use Facebook?
Yeah, people who don't use Facebook.
So
Meta's kind of a dying company. Like, a lot of people are leaving it.
Sure, but Alberta, there's a lot of people here that are on it still. It's the most predominant platform around here.
Oh, okay.
But,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
GrannyMackay.ca is another place. I can give you the links after the show.
Yeah,
And,
because I'd like to
you
put
can
that in
also
the
go there as
description
well.
for this so people can go and check that out. And because I think nothing would be more helpful in this situation than people to actually write letters to. I mean, if they're naming crickets.
Yeah, the grasshopper. Yeah, I could look
Like-
it up. I could get his name for you. But yeah, I read that. I'm like, this is a man looking for beauty wherever he can. And
Yeah, so why not?
finding it.
Why don't we mail them some? They can't deprive them of that.
Well, the good news is you can, and lots do come in. So even one time, and this is the stuff that makes them laugh and make them happy. But 2 of them in the Lethbridge had to, as their job, go through the mountain of mail they get. They are definitely getting.
Let's
lots
make
of
that
good mail,
mountain
so
bigger.
keep it up.
Let's make it
For
bigger.
sure. And on that note, I have 4 tweets that are on my Twitter right now, a message from each man, and inside of that message are instructions on how to contact the Minister of Justice of Alberta to go ahead and send a polite message to him to make him understand what you think about what you see going on.
Well, yeah, if
Again, keep
you're
it polite.
writing letters, do that as well. Yeah, I totally agree with that. The whole concept of keeping things polite, because
Yes.
there's a time to get all, pissed off and say things. And I'm a mechanic. I'm a roughneck when it comes down to it.
Sure.
But I turn the camera on and I talk as if there's kids in the room, because that's just
Sometimes there are.
because there is. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
When people are watching on their phone or they're watching on their TV, they're watching on their computer, and the kids can walk in the room and stuff. So I try to keep the swears to a minimum or not at all if I can do. And I always try to do things that way. So why not do it the same way when you're trying to talk to an official that you're saying you're trying to convince them to do things a different way. Yeah, please be polite in that process.
Yeah. Polite's a good way to do it. You can say I'm frustrated instead of peed off, and I think that this needs improvement instead of tear it down, stuff like that.
Yeah, I never really went with that tear it down rhetoric anyway.
Some people do, though. So I prefer they didn't.
Well,
not helpful.
So I've always been a fan of, how freedom came to North America in the first place, and the history behind it. And before we had our successful experiment and the United States had their successful experiment, the French tried. And they tried, and what they did was they tore it down. They tore it down, and we all know where the expression "heads rolled" came from. It came from that. And you be careful what you wish for, because if you tear it all down, sometimes what you get in return isn't all that you hoped it would be. And that's what the French found out in that case, because they tore it all down and they got another king, an emperor, right? And we don't want that. And it came with the promise of liberty, right? So be very careful about that stuff. So I think we have an excellent system in Canada. There's problems. Obviously, there's issues with the whole Western alienation. There's all kinds of issues. We have our issues, and we can reform those issues. But tearing it all down, I don't really get behind at all. And speaking of which, let's talk a little bit more about you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you're running. You're in the running to become an MP of where?
Correct. Yellowhead, Alberta. So west of Edmonton all the way to Jasper, from Edson down to Rocky Mountain House. That would be the Yellowhead area. It includes Drayton Valley.
So what got you into politics, made you want to run? Because that's a big step. I'm a guy who comments about it, and people are like, Clyde for MP or whatever. No, that's not me. I'm the guy that talks about the MPs. I'm not the MP. So what made you want to take that jump?
Well, I'm an introvert, and I'm a computer guy that went to law school. That's kind of my history. I'm a little bit of an overachiever. I'm a pilot, and I do a bunch of other fun things. But I was homesteading, homesteading, building a homestead when the convoy happened. Mm-hmm. Now, I had no political ambitions. I just want to build my homestead and get on with life. But after what we saw with the EA and the results and the outcome of invoking that EA, Trudeau on February 22nd stood on TV and en français said, if you don't like what I did here, run against me.
Well, he said that.
I said, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you go to my YouTube, I have a video about it. Yeah, and it was en français, so you'd have to either hit the translation or understand it. But it says, if you don't like what I did here, run against me. That's what you need to do, because this is how democracy works. So I said, sure.
Really hate that. I really hate that, because we're a nation of laws. We're not a nation of political whim. And that's what that tells me. That tells me that we have a ruling political elite that feel that they're deserving of their whim. And honestly, and yes, I hope you're successful in running in this. But
thank you.
And we'll get back to that. I just wanted to say this because I'm so fervent about this fact. The Trudeau government and his cabinet have been, especially during the COVID pandemic, decrees, executive privilege, executive orders,
order in council, order in council,
pushing on laws essentially that weren't laws. They didn't establish this and run with it in Parliament. They didn't have it passed through the parliamentary process, and yet he has the gall to go around and tell people that there's a backsliding of democracy and that there's misinformation and disinformation and all of this stuff, that all his platitudes that he says. And this is why people are so absolutely frustrated with this man, and not only him, but all of his cohorts, his whole ilk. And this is completely un-Canadian. This is unbecoming of a Western nation. This is unbecoming of anyone who says that they stand for the principles of a Western democracy, a Western civilization, the ideas of liberty, especially someone from the Liberal Party. It's in the name. It's in the name, liberal. And a lot of people will say, like, I'm a conservative, and maybe I align more with the conservatives as today, but I've always considered myself a liberal in the classical sense, because most of the stuff that I read, like I said, going back to the French scholastics, all the way to modern days, through the experiment in the United States with Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. These men were brilliant minds. John Locke, brilliant minds that came up with this whole system and this idea of liberty, this experiment. And you have these people, in the name of liberty, dismantling it before our eyes and flaunting it. And doing things like what just came out today. I didn't have time to talk about it, but the mootness. There was a case. I'll pull it up here. This is a story from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Right. Arrive Can mootness appeal dismissed. So the idea here is that they brought a court case against the government for this being not constitutional. You can't have this Arrive Can app. This doesn't work. Well, as soon as it finally gets to the court, they pull it, and then they say, "Oh, it's moot. Yeah. We don't want to have this legal battle." Well, we want our day in court. We want our precedent, so that the future administrations can't do this kind of thing. But no, what do we get? We get a mootness, and then when we appeal it, they just dismiss that. And it's not just this case. It was Brian Peckford's case at the all the way.
I was going to say, this is the second time they've done this,
right? Yeah. So you're just as aware of this as I am. But
yeah, for sure. They absolutely should complete the decision, even if they pulled it. But there's a reason for all that. I can explain some of that if you like.
Yeah. Actually, could you?
Yeah. Well, I am a trained paralegal, so I do have my law degree from Ontario. And the federal courts, the judges have to live within 50 minutes or 45 minutes or 50 minutes of downtown Ottawa. So all federal judges are in the Ottawa area. That's not a good thing.
No.
That's not a good thing. That's where they're all bilingual. That's where they all know each other. That's where they all hang out, grow up. They're lawyers and then judges. They all know each other, get appointed. But federal judges have to live within 50 minutes of Ottawa.
So what would it take to change that area?
Reform. Every province should be doing their own federal judges. Yeah, we should be assigning our own federal judges on a provincial level.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would
at least.
I would agree with that. But
Yeah,
so
and this is
I'm
why
always
Tamara Lich could
concerned.
be
I'm
picked
always
up.
concerned because, you know, like the whole tear it down argument. If you open up like a constitutional challenge, for example, or a constitutional convention where you open up the Constitution, be careful, because this is the time where you can have guys like Trudeau and Trudeau's daddy who put in stuff
one?
like which daddy? right. Okay, well, his official one. Anyway, the one who put in the notwithstanding clause that
Right.
that made our Charter of Rights and Freedoms toothless entirely.
Completely useless. It's completely, and the Americans are surprised we have that notwithstanding clause. I had a conversation with a gentleman from the United States who says, "Don't you have freedom of speech?" I'm like, "Yeah, but we also have a pause button called the notwithstanding clause that the government can push anytime they want."
Well,
He's like, that's
it's exactly
useless.
what it is. It's essentially just you know, you have these rights, the fundamental, inalienable, God-given rights, up until the point where it's inconvenient for us. Well, it should be inconvenient for the government. It should be inconvenient.
The point.
That's the
point
only
of the
time that
Constitution.
you would need it. Because every other time it's not contested. Why do you even write it down on paper?
You understand? Yeah, it's insane. And also, what's insane is the ability to give immunity. So, as we saw with the banks when they closed down bank accounts and shut down bank accounts, they got immunity, and immunity is nothing more than a free pass on breaking the law.
Yes.
So we shouldn't have that either.
No, we shouldn't have that at all. And this is what I worry about if, like, say, Trudeau is in government and they decide to have a constitutional convention. It's like, how bad is this going to get? I mean, we're talking about a cabinet where David Lametti has openly said that Canadians don't have fundamentally a right to property.
Right.
How can you have a market economy? How can you have investors want to come to Canada with a attorney general that says Canadians don't fundamentally have a right to property?
Yeah, but you understand you're just one step away from you'll own nothing and be happy. You've heard that before,
Yeah,
right?
of course, and the whole audience has too. And
that's not fiction. That's not fiction.
No, it's not fiction, and it doesn't. Most people don't realize that, like, when we were having our hippie days in China, they had the color revolution, and they were starving when we were doing flower power. What? And I know, like, a lot of people will say, like, oh, you're being hyperbolic, Clyde. You know, there's a lot of, you know, hyperbole and all this stuff. No, these policies have real implications, and they have real dangers, and central authorities will absolutely destroy the economy. And what do? What happens when economies are destroyed? People starve. And it's real, and it's not like it only happened once in China. It was only a few decades before that it happened in Russia. I mean, and we just never learn the lesson. We just keep wanting to try it, right? Just try it out. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get back to you.
No, you're not, because our government just was proud that they've handed out food stamps to Canadians. Like, they're very happy to provide food to the starving in Canada and make a press release out of it. But when you zoom out, oh my gosh, we have to provide food to Canadians now.
No, that's not what their job is. That's not their job. Their job is to get out of the way so people can provide for themselves. And that's
I would love that.
That's ultimately, I mean, what is a government's ultimate duty? And I'm not an anarchist, right?
Sure.
Right. Like, I do believe that there's a role for government, but I just feel it's a much more minimal role than what's been happening. This trend is just absolutely ridiculous worldwide, where governments are getting bigger and bigger and more involved in people's lives every day. Government's role is to protect their borders, a federal government anyway.
Correct. I would agree with that. It's the security of the nation. That's about it. There's not much more.
Yes. And then provincial governments, and then, you know, your municipal governments, they have different roles. There's policing, there's all kinds of other things. But yeah, the federal government, if they're not protecting, and that's the one thing they're not doing.
100%.
All the things that they're involved in.
Well, look, according to our own government, a couple truckers and a couple bridges was enough to bring us to a crawl and almost destroy the entire economy. According to them. that's how close to collapse we are. I don't think
Yes.
they're doing a good job.
No, they're not doing a good job at all. They're not good.
No.
Holy cow! And it was actually there. I was paraphrasing at one point, Rouleau, in saying that the decision was made that Canada's government was inept at all levels, so therefore we needed to give it more power so that inept power could take things under control, and that's really what they did at that point. Of course, that's paraphrasing. He said it in a much nicer way.
And his paraphrase, he said all of that, and I'm also scared of what I can't tell you about because there's some in-camera stuff. So that's a little caveat that he didn't say out loud, because he made his decision based off of the in-camera national security concerns that we never got to see.
This is unbelievable, and all the stuff that we're hearing about China as well. Hey, let's get back to you. So you're you're looking to run for office, and you're running as an independent.
I'm a registered independent. Yep, I've been doing it for a year now. I was offered the position with the PPC. I entertained that for a little bit. I believe the right path forward is an independent. I can certainly work with PPC and other parties, but in order to be a good representation of my constituents, I don't need party whips, and I don't need a party platform to stand in the way of what my constituents need. I just need to win this election and get in there and be the voice that they need for Yellowhead, because we definitely do not have that voice today.
So historically, what sort of demographic is being voted in there? Like, what parties does the demography there tend to lean towards in your?
Well, that's an interesting question, actually. So currently, it's very blue, so very conservative. However, Yellowhead is where Joe Clark came from, so our prime minister. So the prime minister from Alberta came from Yellowhead. Preston Manny also ran for Yellowhead. So we actually have a reform / not really completely conservative mentality here, because we like to be independent. So we kind of have the demographic in Yellowhead to take a chance on independent. Now, we certainly won't put in Liberal here or NDP. That simply won't happen.
Yeah.
But the PPC placed second in the last election, so there's an appetite for something other than the CPC here.
Yeah, and what's the sentiment with the PPC at the moment? Because I mean, Bernier's run four times now, and hasn't elected anyone in any regions.
Well, yeah, so the PPC party have not gotten a seat, and they're going to try again on Monday, the 24th, in Calgary Heritage with Kerry Lorenz.
Okay.
So he's running. Yeah, there's another by-election on Monday. But, look, you bring up a really good point. It's a 5-year-old party. They've gained 5% support. I'm not here to tote the PPC, but I'm happy to talk about their successes and their challenges. And absolutely, Max has a very difficult time west with his accent, and believe it or not, that does play a role.
It does,
Quebec and Alberta. Yeah, unfortunately, it does play a role. But there's a lot of indoctrinated party politics around here about vote splitting, and Alberta actually had the NDP get in because it looked like maybe people were strategically voting. So there's a lot of paranoia in Alberta that the Liberal Party or the NDP party can pick up seats here. But I've been talking to a lot of my neighbors, and the issues around mandates, the issues around vaccine harm, the issues around gender ideology, and all those other issues have really, really put a spotlight on the CPC for not standing up for us here. So a lot of people around here are looking for other options. Now, an independent can come in and represent everybody. I can represent you if you're in the NDP party. I can represent you if you're liberal or conservative. I get to represent everybody. That's the beauty of an independent. And I think it's time for. Here's what I talked to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson today. So I interviewed her today, and I pitched to her the idea of the PPC and independents kind of getting together and actively trying to replace the NDP as the balance of power in the West. So right now, the NDP party hold that position. They're the balance of power. And most of that is in the West. So I would like to see the PPC and independents replace the NDP as the balance of power. If we're able to do that, I believe we can help shepherd the Conservative Party. So I do believe they're going to get a minority government But being a minority government means there is going to be a balance of power. So I would prefer it's not NDP. I prefer it's another option. So I think this next election, we may have an opportunity to pick up a few seats with independent PPC with that goal in mind. And it may take 2 elections to accomplish that goal. But the idea here is if we can shepherd the Conservative Party or anchor them in some conservative values, they will stop drifting towards the left, ideally. And there's no way to do that if there is no independent balance of power, frankly. I don't think Conservative or Liberal Party will listen to anybody. So, for example, the Liberals have the NDP partnership right now, which is causing us not to be able to do an election, hold the Prime Minister responsible for any of his stuff, because he's got a deal in place with Singh.
Right.
So we can't do a no confidence vote. That kind of thing should never happen. That should never happen. So the balance of power.
Wasn't there a law years ago that couldn't happen? Like, wasn't there a thing where they could be punished for?
Well, they started the coalition. They didn't call themselves a coalition, so they're being very careful not to be called a coalition.
It is a coalition
because there are. Right, but if it is a coalition, then you're correct. There's rules around it. If it's not a coalition, it's just an agreement. That's how they got around that.
I hate politics. I mean, I cover politics, but it just frustrates me so much that you could just, it's not a coalition. Yeah, all right, fair, whatever. That's so frustrating. But so they've done that. But so interesting dynamic, because I've said this too, that the PPC has a perfect opportunity to come in and take the votes from disaffected NDPs. Because here's the thing.
Sure, yeah,
NDP,
there's a bunch. That's where they get, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, NDP, they have 2 types of voters. They have people who are very into the NDP platform, and they are because of a myriad of reasons, working class, union types, people who are disaffected by, buy into some of the left-wing propaganda even, and they like the NDP platform. Then you have disaffected liberals, people who would always vote liberal. They never vote conservative because they hate the conservatives for whatever reason, branding or propaganda, whatever. Wise, they don't like the conservatives, so they'll always vote left, but they'll vote NDP while holding their nose at the liberals, right? And that's the thing. The NDP now have stabbed both groups in the back. They've said. To the NDP people who support the platform, they said, you know what, forget it. We're just going to hold on to power. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to give you any of the things that you're looking for, except for the most impoverished people. But that's not everybody. And they threw it out for the disaffected liberals. Disaffected liberals voted for them so that they wouldn't have a majority liberal government. And that's exactly what the NDP handed to them with this quasi not a coalition, which is, it's a coalition. I mean, just for all intents and purposes, that's what it is. It keeps them in power. So this left a perfectly good opportunity, in my belief, that the PPC could have came in and said, hey, and started lobbying NDP voters and disaffected liberals. But that's not what we saw. When we saw Maxime Bernier run in Portage-Lisgar, he went after the conservatives. That's exactly, that was his target. And, he took full advantage of the fact that Trudeau wanted to talk about abortion, which has never been an issue politically for us in a lot of years, at least not in the mainstream. But Trudeau wanted to talk about that because everybody was talking about China. So, the usual liberal tactics, gay marriage and abortion, right? From the 90s. Pulls that hat out. And then Maxime Bernier said, okay, the media will listen to me if I talk about that, right? That's kind of the gist I got from it. And I did do a video kind of calling out Maxime Bernier, but I've been friendly with Maxime, so I like it's a push and a pull at the same time. But I feel disappointed that the PPC didn't go after the NDP voters. They did, in fact, go the direction that the Conservatives were all afraid of, and that was the vote split. And they went that way.
Yeah, and I like that analysis of you, and I think you're pretty bang on with that. That's why I'm kind of hoping in this next election they will focus on some orange areas and really attack to take over some NDP seats, because the numbers show that PPC is attracting Liberal voters and NDP voters more than they are CPC voters. And they're actually attracting far more parents now all of a sudden who are leaving the left because they're not cool with what's going on with their children.
One of the things that it needs to be understood is that people on the left are very the whatever you can call it, propaganda or just seeding of these ideas. They will not vote conservative. They see blue, they cringe at it. They won't. So like, you need to give them a viable alternative. I've been arguing this for a while.
Independent. That's independent.
Yeah.
So I can appeal to Liberals. I can appeal to NDP, especially here. So here's my pitch to non CPC voters in Yellowhead. There's no chance you're going to have any representation. Full stop. Unless you vote differently. If you go with an independent, at least I can also attract CPC as well, because I'm a strong conservative independent. So I'm able to be a little bit more firm than our current CPC, but I am capable, competent, and willing to listen to all sides because I have no allegiance to a party. So if you're an NDP voter that has no representation in Yellowhead at all, well, you're not going to get it in the next election unless you pick somebody who will take your call, who will take your message and listen to you. And Clyde, this is what I'm demonstrating with my show and all my work. I'm not an MP yet. We're a couple of years away from the election, but yet I am here working like an MP, doing my best to, shed light on the Coots, shed light on the POC, other problems. I'm here doing MP's work without the paycheck. And I think this is a great way to demonstrate to my neighbors that I am the competent person that they're looking for. And I'm already ahead of the game by doing this kind of work, which includes a podcast, interviewing people, and getting involved in my community directly. And this is without a paycheck. So if I had the election and I did have MP power, like I was actually empowered with the MP power, imagine what I could do then. This is what I'm doing now. Without that, give me a little bit more power and I can knock on doors and people have to open them for me. That would be an incredible thing to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And represent people in Ottawa, like actually go there and be able to put your voice out there. I know there's a whole game once you get there too. And there's the whole, backbenchers versus the people who will toe the party line. They'll do the thing. And that's a real concern. But that's a whole other discussion altogether. I think one thing that could drive a healthy democracy, even in this case, because right now people are a little turned off by the politics on the right hand side of things. The left, there's only 23% of them apparently now. We saw in recent thing that there's only 23% of people support Trudeau anymore. Most people are going elsewhere. Again, independent, NDP, PPC, and some people moving over to the CPC. Now, what's really disappointing for a lot of people who are the big hopefuls, we've got some people, they've got some balls finally. They're going to come in and they're going to say the thing and they're going to do the thing, and then they don't. And they're really being run by polls. They're being run by the media analysis. What the media is going to do, they'll kowtow to the media first and foremost. We saw this recently with the t-shirts, the guy with the green shirt, the straight pride shirt, which was a joke. And what's their response to it? I'm not associated with that. They won't even defend that. So people are like, well, are you going to defend anything? Like, what is it going to come down to? And it really comes down to lowest common denominator. So in an election, if a conservative party is running, they're really going after the people who aren't voting for them yet. So all of the things that they're going to have to say are not going to be for conservatives. They're going to be for liberals that they're trying to bring over to the other side. And you guys, we got your vote anyway. Who cares? Get out of here. Get lost. And this is a real concern of mine. And this, I think, is a perfect place for independents and other people to come in and say, listen, I'll give you a voice. I'll be that guy for you.
Right.
And I'll work with the conservatives. You know, I'll work with them. I'll work with the other side too. We'll get in there and actually do something. Or at least, even if I don't win, I'll be the guy to shift the focus of this whole thing so that it actually makes the conservatives scared that they'll lose the votes. Like, forget about vote splitting. You know what vote splits? Not concerning yourself with the people who normally vote for you. That causes a vote split, because that's when people start turning away and going, Mr. PP, you're PPing away your chance to get the votes from all these people. And I'm not railing against. So like, I know people on the internet are absolutists. When I say this stuff, I'm saying this stuff to encourage people. I'm trying to encourage all politicians out there from all parties. Listen to the constituents. Listen to what they have to say. It's when you ignore them like that on genuine concern issues. Like there's a rally forming right now around September of 1 million people in Canada to come out against this whole idea of indoctrination of children in schools.
Wonderful.
And this is all forming around, and not only that, it's bringing so many people together. It's bringing people that have been split up in North America, in the Western world, since 2001. Muslims, Christians, Jews, secular people, all coming together under one umbrella, saving children, saving our future.
100%.
And these things are inspiring. To see politicians waiving that opportunity to be a part of this movement is just, for me, it's absurd.
You're not wrong, my friend. And you basically said all the reasons why I didn't stick with the PPC party. I wish them the best. I wish Max the best. Some good people in there, some high energy people that have the right ideas. Unfortunately, they still have party platform, and they do require you to stick to it. And I'm a strong believer that the party platform is where the voice goes to die, because we don't actually have a voice to the platform. The platform has to be adopted wholeheartedly. And that's a problem for me. So when I'm talking to my neighbors, and if the issue isn't on the platform, it's not an issue I can even bring forward because of the party platform. And that's just one thing. I don't want to give the impression that that's the entire reason why I didn't join the PPC party completely. There's a few, but I do believe the only way to have a true representation in the House of Commons is to send somebody who is a common.
Yeah, commoners. We're also, that's how it's supposed to work.
It's in the name. It's in the name.
But it's all brand and party affiliation. So people, and this is the thing. So many people don't pay attention, and then when it comes time to vote, they go, I always get Pepsi, and then these guys are like, I always get Coke. You know, so they look for Pepsi and Coke on the ballot. One way you can get rid of that is to say no party names on the ballots. You know,
that's a good way, because I would like people to know their candidate. Absolutely. If you find the best candidate happens to be in a party, well, then that's the best candidate. But it would be wonderful if there was debates and the community actually paid attention to the candidate and their qualifications and what they can do for you. Because I believe in that environment, we definitely would get far better results in the House of Commons.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much we should be reforming, but yeah, I mean, what are they working on right now? They're working on reducing. Well, this is a funny thing. Trudeau ran on election reform, the thing that he's putting through the Senate right now at the moment. The election changes are going to be making people as low as the age of 16 eligible to vote in Canada. This is just ludicrous. We're
going in the wrong direction.
We are going in the wrong direction on that one. And I've even been an advocate to say that anyone who is working for the government should forfeit their right to vote. I mean, that's and this is an idea I've toyed with, and people could criticize me for saying that. But if it's a conflict of interest, if you're on the take. And this would include a number of different positions, but it would be if you're on the take, then it's conflict of interest for you to be able to vote for this for any party in an election or any individual. So you should take that as a, okay, well, I got my government job, but this is the price I have to pay for it.
Well, I have a suggestion for one reform that I think would be relatively simple, and we've already have a proven example of that, and that is to have a recall on the riding level. So in BC, I believe you know this, you guys have the ability to recall elected officials.
It's tough. It's not easy.
It's tough, but you at least have that ability.
Yes.
That should be on all elected positions. We should have straight up, there's a recall process and on all elected positions. So if you decide as the constituents that your guy is no longer doing it for you or gal, you can go ahead and go through a recall process. Yes, it's difficult, but at least you have it.
Yes, that's true.
If you don't have it, there's no option.
I know they're trying to recall David Eby, but it does not look like it's going to happen.
It could be difficult because the soundbite that I really gets my hair up and gets me frustrated, and I'm not easily angered, but what does anger me is when I hear politicians, and this is what Trudeau says all the time, and even Doug Ford in Ontario, you have your input at the election. So that message that they tell the people, you get to have your say on election day, basically telling you to bugger off all other days, and they got it. I don't believe that's democracy. I believe you should be held accountable every day that you work, and you should be worried about your job every day that you work, so that you may lose it if you're not doing it right. We would, any of us in our job, we don't have 4-year terms where we can stay there no matter what we do. I believe the ability to recall any elected official is something we should be seriously taking a look at.
Yeah, absolutely, and make all lobbying televised.
Well, you should watch my interview with Randy Hilliard. He was an MPP in Ontario who ended up becoming an independent. Right? Watch that interview if you had a chance. It's 2 hours, but he explains the inner workings of the Conservative Party. Actually, all parties. He made it very clear that it's not the media. It's special interest. It's lobbyist groups. Those are the ones who make the decisions.
Yeah, I heard that recently, that we should be televising lobbying. If we televised it, then it would be open and out there in the public. Because I mean, we as commoners, we don't have the ability to go and lobby. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it would cost money, it'd take time out of your day. There's all this stuff. My personal opinion is the government should be so small, it should be inconsequential in your life to the point where you don't care what the government officials are doing. There's not enough of them, and it doesn't matter. But it's when the government grows so largesse and is so involved in your life and so cumbersome, then now everyone's clamoring for a piece of that power because they just want to take back a bit of their life, and that's where we're at now, and we need to really shrink that.
Look, I absolutely can talk for hours with you on this, but I am going to have to run because I am a morning show guy. So 10 o'clock is late for me.
10 o'clock's late. Okay,
if you don't mind,
fair enough.
I would like to plug a couple things.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind. Yeah, so my morning show that we do for the Coots men. So every morning we get together with Donald Best, who's a police investigator for corruption. We sit with Granny Mackay, who is the liaison to the family. She knows them all. She's been dealing with the men all the way. And we sit with Danielle, who has all of the information. She's collected all the court documents, disclosure, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The four of us each day, we sit down and we go through all of this. So we've had gun experts on, we've had vets on who really know their stuff. We've had some legal people on. And what we're doing, and we've done 20 days of this now, so 4 weeks of this, is we're going through all the information, all of it. We had Gord McGill come on. He's a Newsweek writer, so he interviewed us for an entire episode and then wrote the article for Newsweek, which really kicked off all of the media now paying attention to this. It's Rebel who referenced the Newsweek article. True North is referencing the Newsweek article. Everybody's referencing the Newsweek article. So you'll actually be able to see how that Newsweek article interview went. And why I'm pitching this to your audience is because if you really want to know what's going on in Coots in fine detail, I can squeeze a bunch in an hour and a half with you, but we've done over 22 hours of it now, and we're not stopping until the men are out.
Right.
So my morning show is at 6 a.m. Mountain Time. It'll be 5 a.m. for your guys, but they can go ahead and watch the replay. I also have a show I call the Yellowhead Yacht Club. This is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, where I interview somebody for 2 hours. So I've had Jeremy McKenzie on, Maxime Bernier. I've had many, many, many people that you'll know. And coming up is Chris Barber. Next week I have Dr.
He's great. I had him
Peter
on the show.
McCullough.
He's just such a guy.
Yeah, he's fun in the text. Yeah. Like going back and forth, he's got quite the personality.
He's cool.
And I like him a lot. Tamara Lynch will be on as well. She's coming in August.
Nice.
So go ahead if you want to know freedom fighters, leaders, public figures. I'm interviewing a whole bunch of them. And then every Wednesday, Clyde, this is a fun one. I do what's called the Great Canadian Relay. So we start in Nova Scotia, and we have Morgan May, so the girlfriend of Jeremy, and she comes on as a reporter, correspondent for Nova Scotia, and then we do this all the way across with each province, all the way up to the territories. So we spend 3 hours talking to Canadians, providing the news from every region, so that Canadians can hear from Canadians about Canadians, and not have all these middlemen involved. It's a very fun show because we even have musical guests like Greg Arcade came on and played some live music for us. So this is a really fun way to spend a Wednesday afternoon if you want to get updated on what's going on across Canada.
Oh, nice.
And actually, if your schedule ever allows, I'd like to sneak you in for 20 minutes at some point to give us an update of the BC region.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, I'll try to make it work.
We'll figure it out because it's kind of, I think, when your show's on, so I'm not sure. But
yeah, it's so hairy because I also have a full-time job at the same time, so I do a lot of hours on this YouTube thing. It's incredible. my entire morning, like hours before I go to work, is all wrapped up, and then I have two beautiful children and an amazingly beautiful wife that I do need to give attention to as well. So these are all my things, my pre.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah,
I homeschool. We take care of our kids here as well. Time is definitely it's very limited around here. And I got one more last plug for you because I'm kind of proud of this one.
Okay.
I wrote my first book.
Oh, nice.
So the book's called Bearing Witness. And what this book is about, it is a #1 Amazon seller. Actually, my digital was #1 and the paperback was #2 at one point. So quite proud of that.
Well, you've got the audio equipment. You got to do an audible.
Maybe we'll get to. I got to get the time. But what this book is about I think what we're missing here in society and what may help a lot is witnessing. We don't do enough witnessing. So this book will teach you how to be a good witness, how to be a legal witness, how to stay out of trouble, how to use your equipment to record things, how to report things, how to follow up on things. Because the idea is if we have more people out there that are credible witnesses, we can definitely report more things, have more court cases, and maybe hold some people accountable for what's going on. So this book will teach you how to use your phone, capture events, how to reach out to the media, talk to them, how to reach out to authorities, report things. This book is meant to teach people how to become good witnesses in our society. Because I strongly believe without witnesses, we really will not have accountability.
Yes.
So my desire here is to educate people in an easy to consume way, how to be better witnesses out there.
Wow.
And not become part of the problem or anything like that, because I think this is what we need.
That's fantastic, actually. Yeah, so no problem plugging that book. What again was the title?
It's called Bearing Witness. It's available on Amazon. And if you email me at here we go.
Yeah, there we go. So you can see the whole thing. Yeah. Bearing Witness.
Yeah. If you email me at bearing-witness@outlook.com, I'll provide this to you later as well.
Yeah.
You can buy it directly from me, or you just go on Amazon worldwide and you can pick it up there.
Yeah, brilliant. So send me all the links. I'll make sure that they go into the description down below. I think I'll
For sure.
I'll parse this up so it's not just in the whole live stream, but I'll publish it as a separate video so everybody can watch this as well.
Oh, thank you.
And I do a podcast as well. I try to, when you're this busy, you try to grab everything where you can and put it out there. But yeah.
Well, let me offer something to you then. Let me put an offer out there for you. So I'm going to be in Lethbridge for the entire court for this Coots guys. I'm setting up a studio at the hotel next to it. I'm happy to come on and do updates daily or every couple of days if you'd like to know what's going on with this.
Yeah, maybe weekly or bi-weekly, monthly. We'll see because man, I have a whole roster next week. I was able to squeeze you in tonight. Sure. That's why I'm so stoked about this. So we'll get you in for.
I'm doing that with Viva, True North, and Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want that as well, and what
Absolutely.
You might be able to grab is, I might just give you the clip and then you can play it or something. So it doesn't have to be live, but
yeah,
it might be a way for you to, update your audience on what's really going on for the next week, because it's going to be an important week.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that I was able to connect with you and bring you on.
Yeah,
for
I've been a fan for a while.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I got to tell you, one of my proudest moments was when one of my viewers clipped you saying my name during the POEC. So they put it into the chat and says, Jason Lavigne is covering the POEC, and you read it out, and they clipped it and sent it to me. I'm like, look at that.
Oh man, wow.
Now on Clyde do something.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
I mean, I'm just a guy who puts my face on the camera, and it's
I know. I get this too. I'm just in my fifth wheel. I have Starlink and solar. This is how I'm running this thing here.
Oh, it's awesome. I really appreciate everyone who does this. Like anyone who gets on board and just put the information out there as much as you can. I mean, if a dyslexic mechanic like myself could do it, anybody could do it. We can all do this and get the info out there. And I'm really proud to see that you're doing this and running as an independent as well, so you can represent Canadians in a real way. And well, thanks again for joining me on the show. And well, of course, we'll have you again soon.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Clyde. And if we can ever work out the schedule, I'd love to give you one of my interviews. It's fun.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we'll do that for sure. All right. Well, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Clyde. And thanks everybody that's watching. You guys have a great night.
Cheers.
And Coots 4. We're going to root for them on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't forget to send me the information where I can get people to mail them so people can send them letters.
Yeah, I'll send you all that stuff we spoke about. Maybe you'll get it in the morning if you don't mind. But
I don't mind.
It's getting late on this side.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Clyde.
All right. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
All right, ladies and gents, this is amazing. That was a really, really good. I was impromptu. It actually just happened a few hours before went to go live. So Jason reached out to me and he said, "Hey, there's a bunch of information. We want to get this out. Is there any way we can get I can get, do something next week or whatever?" And I said, "I'm going live tonight. Can you do it?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's make it happen." And wow, what a great conversation. Really fantastic. Waniska with the $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. I wanted to catch up on also. We have EMC earlier with a super chat saying the hippie movement was a communist revolution in hindsight, was a tiny tot, but remember the chaos. Now, if you actually listen back to Yuri Bezmenov, he talks about the hippie movement and how that was actually the sowing of the seeds of this whole thing that's happening now. It was. He called it espionage. He saw it as ideological subversion of the Western society. He was, of course, ex-KGB, who was a defector and came over to North America to talk about this. Now, back in the 1980s, people were saying, no, it couldn't be, right? Well, no, all these years later, here we are. Flush the toilet also. what a handle. Also saying, so does Thomas Sowell. Yeah, Thomas Sowell. What an accomplished writer, actually, Thomas Sowell. The sheer number of books that he's written. I've read a few of his books, but yes, amazing writer, as well as a colleague of Milton Friedman's, who as well I have had a ton of respect for. I still have a ton of respect for him, the late great Milton Friedman. Except for that one theory, the whole thing about universal basic income, that kind of stemmed from him. You might want to do your research on that, but that did. I think he introduced that one as an idea that would be like, well, if we ever did have a welfare system, this would be the way to do it. Still don't get along with that idea, but that's the way things are going. Truth goes so much deeper, so much further back than that on my levels, on many levels, sorry. Your time is precious and you're smart, but you're only just scratching the surface on all of this, man. I bet I am. So I do what I can, and I'm doing things in the way that I know how. And the best way to do that, of course, is networking. And man, has this community been so successful with the networking. Thanks again to Jason Lavigne for coming on tonight. Of course, that is all due to this beautiful networking that's been happening in Canada, and just so many people coming out of the woodwork, just, you know, waking up to the idea that, you know, things haven't been going the way we want them to go in Canada. Doesn't mean it's the end. We can change things, and sometimes it's gonna take a bit of hard work, and it's gonna take a bit of like turning up your nose at some things. But this is the way we're going in Canada, and I think this is a good sign for a good thing in the right direction. Now, it's not going to come without its pains. Some of the economic stuff that's down the pipe is going to be tough. But as we heard from earlier from that podcast, that I'm gonna have to I put a link in the description down below, and that was for Simon Hergott and his Valley Destroyed. Go check that out, by the way. That the first scene there, you know, soft men create hard times, and that's really what we're seeing. We're gonna see some hard times, but hard times make strong men, and strong men make good times, and that's really where we need to be seeing it from. Al Stewart with a $10 super chat. An interview with Simon Hergott would be great. I think I'm gonna have to line that up. I think I really should. I have his email, so I'm gonna get in touch with him and pull that up. So thank you again so much for reminding me about that. That would be fantastic. It is what it is with the $27.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work, Clyde. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad everybody sees what I'm doing here as good work. I'm going to keep doing what I do, and I'm going to thank you so much as much as I can, and these donations are fantastic because they're helping me to buy more equipment so I can do more of this stuff. Again, with the in-person interviews, hopefully in the future, that's something that I can do as soon as I set something up here in this studio. Now, I haven't just a little studio in my garage, but hey, we make things work, and we make things nice, and we make things happen. Al Stewart with another $10 super chat. Thank you so much. It's fire season. Nothing has changed. Yeah, no, nothing has changed. Eat Me, funny name, with a $10 super chat. High school counselors kept asking, what do you want to be in life? After long answer, bear witness to history. Wow. That actually made me think. That's wow. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Bear witness to history. Is that something that is something I want to be, and I think that's what we're all doing here in this community. I think it's fantastic the way it's been working out. It's amazing. Michael with the $2 super chat. Thanks, Clyde. Great show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much. And if anyone's got an inkling, be hanging out in the Discord after this. So if anyone uses Discord, it's the another social media service. If you got too many social medias, don't worry about it. But it's one originally designed for gamers. The reason why I like to use it is because they have the best voice and video for multiple people. You can have these big conference calls with many people. So we do this after the live streams. This is a great way for people to come in and share ideas and chit chat and do all kinds of stuff. So if you feel so inclined, come on over, and I'll be in there for a little bit. I won't be too long this evening because I am waking up early in the morning to go pick raspberries with the family because we need to get stock for this winter so we can make jams so that we can survive. Because with all the costs of everything going up, I mean, we've been doing this for a few years now, and it's helped us save money. But now we need it. We absolutely need it. I recommend everybody go out there, get picking those berries, make some jams, make some preservatives, make all kinds of stuff. Get out there and get some stuff done, and live life cheaply with wholesome food. Great stuff. If you can't, if you can't, go try some of the stuff that other people have been making. Make your own brew your own. I've been laying off the brew lately, so just having soda waters. I like having my soda waters. I actually recently I got back into a drink, and anybody who wants to try this, I had this with Marty up north over at Derek Smith's place. I wonder if I can find a picture of it, because it was but everybody's got shares so much on their social medias. Hold on. Maybe I can find it on Derek's because it's he posts less. Let's see under media, see if he's got a picture of us with a drink that I introduced. Well, I didn't introduce it to Marty because he already knew this drink. Okay, don't have that picture, but I have this one when we're out in Alberta. Check this out. This is myself, Marty up north, and Andy Lee, of course, the real Andy Lee, and I made caipirinhas for everybody. Caipirinha is a really fantastic drink. It's made with a liquor called cachaça, and it's a Brazilian sugarcane spirit. If you want to go have yourself a fun drink, try one of those. I've been having some of those recently. Sounds fancy. It's not that fancy, actually. It's just, it's a really nice drink. You just take a lime, you cut it up, you put it in a glass, you dump some sugar in there, and you, if you don't have a muddle, you can just use the back of a wooden spoon, crush it all up into the bottom of the glass, pour yourself some of that cachaça, and then top it all up with ice. And I like to put a little bit of soda on the top of it. It's actually a Brazilian sugarcane farmer's drink. Enjoy that one, everybody out there. Go try it, maybe this weekend, if you can. Enjoy one of those in the nice hot weather that apparently is way too hot for everybody, according to the mainstream media. Just look at your local forecast with all the red colors on the maps. But anyway, I'm going on. I'm rambling on and on and on. I'm going to end this stream now. Thank you guys all for tuning in. It was a great show. Great time this week. Wow, went way into it. 2 hours and 45 minutes. But yeah, I want to thank you guys all. We'll be back again on Monday. We've got some guests lined up for next week. Too many to mention right now. You'll just see who's coming up. Really, really good people coming on and have some great stories to share. So tune in for that. And until then, everybody, keep on